following content contains adult language and humor that is not suitable for viewers under the age of 18. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. The views and opinions expressed during the following video content are those of the individual and may not reflect those of others. Thank you.
Risk. Risk is our business. That's what the Starship is all about. That's why we're aboard her.
Good evening and welcome, one and all, to this very special live stream here on the Pacific 4 and 4 YouTube channel, and hopefully at some point the Pacific 4 and 4 Rumble channel. It seems to be having a little trouble at the moment. But I am your host, Mike, and tonight I am joined by guest Eric O'Sullivan,
Hello.
Cash Money 007,
Yo.
Pata Wannabe, DJ
Hello.
Ronnie G, Lord Crit. Hopefully, Baron Orman Tag will be along shortly. But, ladies and gentlemen, it has been 57 years since Star Trek graced our television sets back on September 8th, 1966, with The Man Trap.
Happy birthday.
And ever since then, Star Trek has captured the hearts and minds of many around the world. It's inspired many to join NASA, become astronauts, become scientists, become teachers, join a profession in engineering. And let's hope it stays that way, because Star Trek under Gene Roddenberry is a great thing. Star Trek under Gene Roddenberry gave us 3 great seasons of the original series. It gave us 2 seasons of the animated series, which is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. It also gave us 6 great movies with the original cast, plus 4 more with the Next Generation cast. Yes, we also got the 3 with J.J. Abrams directing or producing, but in all fairness, Star Trek has been great, especially when you look at the original series, the animated series, Next Generation, DS9, Voyager, Enterprise. And I do have my own thoughts on Discovery and Picard, but the reason why you see Janeway, Picard, Sisko, Archer, Kirk, and the original Pike, along with the original Robert April, is because that's the Star Trek I grew up with. That's the Star Trek I care about. That's the Star Trek that many of us here on the panel can sit back and watch each and every day. And we don't have to have a streaming service. A lot of us probably have our physical copies of each season. But first, before we continue on with this, I do want to say to Eric O'Sullivan, thank you for accepting the invitation to be on the show. And I want to hear about your first Star Trek memories.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Mike. This is fun. Thank you. Good to see everyone. Good to see everyone out there in TV land. And first and foremost, I want to thank Lucille Ball, because if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have what we have today. This legacy of great science fiction, of stories, of allegory, of, you know, and this playground that we all grew up in. My first, I guess, my earliest Star Trek memories would be I'll be 51 this November, and I grew up an inch away from the television set, like we all did. Get away from that TV, you're gonna go blind, my mother would say. But I knew Star Trek before I knew Star Wars, before I knew Space 1999, and the animated Star Trek the animated series too, and its unique music. I loved just using spoons. Like an upside down spoon would be a Constellation class starship. You know what I mean? A Constitution class starship, rather. And just like this up down, yeah, just Star Trek just holds this huge part of my imagination. And I was an only child, and my Spock, our Spock growing up, he was an only child until Cybok gets introduced in the fifth movie. But I embrace my inner Spock. Things are fascinating, and things appear to be so. And my religion is science because of that experience.
Mhm.
Pretty much, yeah.
And see, that's the influence that the characters have on all of us.
Mm-hmm.
You have a character like Kirk. Some people inspired to be Kirk. Shoot first, ask questions later. Not so much the ladies' man. Like, they all say that he is, which I'm not saying he isn't. But, having that gravitas and the machismo, you know, inspiring to be Kirk. Nothing wrong with that. Kirk's one of my favorite captains. But some would rather use the logical side of their brain, like
It's
Spock.
It's like you step right into an episode, someone like Charlie X, and everyone is a fit physical specimen. Like Kirk brings Charlie to the gymnasium, and they're just like working out, and everyone's like in these tight clothes, and everyone's like in great shape. So everyone's in great health, mentally healthy. They're physically fit, and they're at the top of their game to be on this ship, the flagship of the Federation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, the times where you see Kirk in sick bay and Bones is putting Kirk under a physical, and you see that William Shatner himself wasn't in bad shape at the time of the original series. And welcome, Baron.
Hello.
Howdy. Who was in bad shape? Was it me?
Hello, Klingon
I wasn't saying Shatner was in bad shape there. I was saying
Shatner.
You're a Klingon Chancellor, obviously.
Kapla.
No, I'm blah. Oh, that's when I did up. I was trying some new stuff, and I got several of them out there. I mean, there we are, Federation. Federation.
Fancy.
Let's go for it.
Cool.
Sorry about being late, but I was severely disappointed. The All Blacks lost.
Oh, darn it.
I'm sorry about that, brother.
Yeah, and that's the delay. I was delayed by watching the loss. So my apologies for coming in late on that. But if you like Francais and rugby, celebrate. I don't want to talk.
I'm worried
There
about
will
you.
be a reprimand in your record, Mr. Tag.
I'm worried about you. You're wearing a red shirt.
Well,
you know what that means.
Of course.
Eric, just to let you know, when we do Pop Talk, a lot of times it's either Barrett or Cash that gets booted from the stream just for kicks and giggles. And so I think Barrett's trying to be prepared just in case I decide to boot him for some reason.
Indeed.
Is that the case, Barrett? I'm sorry, I had to pick something up that Mouse actually knocked down. Sorry.
Mouse the cat.
I know. Mouse the cat, yes.
What?
He was deciding to be like El Diablo.
But Eric, when it comes to the animated series, what's your first memory of the animated series? Where did you first see it?
Just in Saturday mornings on a UHF station. For those in TV land who are younger, old broadcast television had VHF, which were the big networks, and then your UHF stations were your local small channels that played reruns and nightly movies. And but on Saturday, they did not have the Saturday morning cartoons as the networks did, but they did have their offerings. And so I was channel 56, WSBK TV Boston, and I'm sorry, WLVI, and for anyone out there from Boston. And it was on later in the morning, see, like 11 or 11:30. And I just remembered the crew was a bit more robust. You had the cat lady, and you had the red guy with the third arm. and I should know all these names by heart, but and then you had Commodore April and his wife, and then everyone turned into kids, and it was just that was probably the most impressive episode. And that, like, in the musical cues and the real voices, because it was just that was like, wow, everyone's on this show. It was, for me, that's season 4. No holds barred. That's it. That is season 4 of the original series.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, I can remember saying to a coworker of mine that I used to work with that because the animated series received 2 seasons, I would consider that season 4 and 5 of the original series.
There's our 5-year journey. Indeed. I was let's see, when it's 1979. I was 7 years old, and I got one of the first Happy Meals from McDonald's. And what was the tie-in to that? It was Star Trek: The Motion Picture. And I remember 2 of the toys. One of them was a toy. It was a communicator that had a spool of comics in it, and so you assemble it and you turn the little crank, and so the display would change. And then another one was an iron-on of the Delta. It had a shimmering kind of effect too, and I put it on a blue shirt of all things, of course.
Well, why not? I mean,
yes,
yeah.
If Spock's your hero and you're growing up, you're watching not just the original series, but now the animated series, what are you going to do? You're going to iron that patch right onto the shirt. And then you're going to probably go around the house with a book or something and using that book as a tricorder. Captain, this meatloaf is not up to par, Captain.
Mother, this meatloaf appears to be liver.
But yeah. So I'm going to go ahead. Go ahead, Eric.
No, I was just saying we need better tricorders. I remember in the Star Trek Communicator fan club magazine, they had like this $300 apparatus that looked like a tricorder. They said you could scan, get readings from a plant. So I was like, okay, that'd be kind of cool. Check the moisture content, check how your plants are doing, but never really saw that product take off. Granted, like Eric said, phones are pretty close. I mean, you got the gyroscopes and all of that cool crap. Sometimes you can even add accessories to them. But I want more, but I'm getting a little greedy here, maybe. I want like a spectrometer attachment for my phone along with a tricorder app. But it's just what I wanted to add about that. We got a duel going on here, Mr. Barron. I got a crappy laser pistol. I'm sorry. Yeah. Can't really compete with that bug killer.
He was talking Star Trek 1, so, there's the Star Trek 1/2 phaser.
Ooh. Oh, so I was mixing it up with Star Trek 3. I thought you were going to use it as a bug zapper for some SETI wigs. There we go. I think it's beautiful. I love that one.
Phaser.
He puts creatures in our bodies.
All right, since everybody's showing off their phaser, I might as well
do it. Yes.
Oh, it's a nice TV remote.
I need to get a phaser one from the TV show. I had one.
I'm poor.
I'm poor. I use my finger too.
I got plenty of phaser ones though. From Star Trek 3.
You should mail me one.
That's cool.
Captain, that finger phaser appears to be set on studs.
It's like I told my ex-wife, my phaser's such a fun, baby.
You, if you got extras, you should mail me some of those stuff.
Is that why your ex-wife? It was like your phaser was too fun.
Not fun enough. Actually, I don't have an ex-wife. I mean, because it sounds better that way. The joke.
Okay.
Like it's actually a Voltron of my ex-girlfriends, and I'll form the head. Yeah. Indeed.
But I'm going to go around the horn here and ask the same question for everybody, starting with Baron. Baron, what's your earliest memory of Star Trek and Star Trek the Animated Series?
Oh, 2 loaded questions. My first real remembering of the original series, and it was the one where they had the Van Gelder in it. I hate when I get a middle block, but Van Gelder, and he was got on board in the box on board the Enterprise and got out of the box and tackled it. It must have been whoever was in charge of the transporter. Maybe it was Leslie or whoever. And I remember that because it scared the hell out of me. I was really, really, really young, and I was seeing this on a little black and white TV set in an apartment that we were living in when I was a wee lad. I mean, really young. And why that stuck to me was our stairways were open. So we were on the second floor. I walked out, and there was a box outside of the apartment above us. And I always thought that Van Gelder was in there, and he was going to get me. I mean, Star Trek scared the what out of me when I was growing. I didn't like any science fiction. Oddly enough, I'm probably the only one here. I could probably say it safely. The only one here who actually did see an episode of the animated series when it was first run, because I'm 50, going to be 55 at the end of this month. I don't remember much of it, but I remembered it, and I remember it was kind of hard to try to find it the next week and such. It was on, of course, the NBC and such. And those are my two things that I remembered. I didn't get into Star Trek really until a lot later. My dad, when the episode Trouble with Tribbles was on, he made me sit down and watch it and say, see, this show isn't all about being scared. Our scary things, our monsters, our whatnot. And a lighthearted episode with serious overtones and, of course, cute little hairballs that I keep on having around here with the cats. And I think what solidified me, even though I didn't necessarily like Star Trek the Motion Picture fully, I remember when I was in the theater watching it and we're going through the cloud, I was kind of going, are we done yet? Are we done yet? Come on. I mean, how long can I look at all this? I mean, let's get to the crux of everything. I mean, I loved everything kind of leading up to it, the Klingon battle, even the flyby of the Enterprise as a young lad, just kind of, wow, first real look of it. And that really solidified me because I did like the new designs that they had for Star Trek, the new Enterprise, the refit and such. And needless to say, Star Trek 2 solidified it. I was diehard. I was even more of a Star Trek fan than a Star Wars fan, and was involved in many of the fandoms that was involved around the Twin Cities area and nationally too. Mm-hmm. So those are my two recollections.
Okay. All right. DJ Ronnie G. Same question. Your earliest memories of the original series and animated series.
Well, that's a tricky one because my earliest memories of Star Trek, period, is just this right here. When I first saw the original series, I was coming home from school in the 4th grade. My brother was playing a VHS recording of a 1989 Star Trek marathon. And I was like, what is this thing from a bygone era? I mean, that ship looks so cylindrical. And I remember I immediately took off to it. I wasn't making fun of it for long. I immediately caught on. And I remember there's a kid in that same class and he was like, oh, that's the ship with the barrel shape, the old one. And he had a superficial understanding. I was just kind of coming into understanding it and enjoying the heck out of it. And even back then I was able to have a sense of humor about Star Trek. Sometimes we think that we take Star Trek too seriously today with all of the new Trek stuff, but sometimes there were moments where I had to have a sense of humor. I hear, you guys like Nordporvial and Baron talking about how season 1, a lot of you seem to have a consensus on season 1 being the better one. Am I incorrect or? Okay.
You are correct. That is my census.
So, rolling through the other seasons, I just kind of had fun with it instead. But now that I look back and I reflect, I'm glad you guys said that in the recent times. It made me think about it. Oh, yeah, it's a good point. But, even the one, what was it, the Babel, the one where they have the hippies on the ship? Yeah, had a good time with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Had a good time with that insanity. But nonetheless, my first impression was...
Herbert!
Herbert!
I am not Herbert.
That madness. So, and then the kids doing the... In fact, there's one of my early memories of the original series. Kids doing this.
Bonk, bonk!
So maybe what happened was I started with really low expectations, and then once I started really good stuff, it was just to the moon. And that is... those are some of my earliest recollections.
All right. Padawannabe, Same question for you. Your earliest memories of the original series and your earliest memories of the animated series.
Well, the animated series, I'll start there. I'm not sure when I found out about it, but growing up, it seems like I always knew about it. So maybe I caught it at an early age. And when I saw it in later years, when it became available again, because as Baron was saying, he got to see it live. And then if you didn't see it live, how many years did we have to wait before something was available that we could even realize that this was a thing? So it's obviously going to become, I probably saw it somewhere. I just can't remember the first time, but I can't say it's in the YouTube era. So I probably saw it when I was younger than I can really remember. My mother is only 20 years older than me. So when, in my first 10 years, she's only 20 to 30. So a lot of the guys she hung out with, I do remember them being super excited over a lot of this stuff. Battlestar Galactica and Star Wars and Star Trek, and just flipping out because it was nothing like what anything else is. Even though they're similar in the sci-fi aspect, they are all singular things back then. There was very much a distinction. So I always knew about it. I always wanted to watch it. And then when I actually did get to see a few episodes, I probably watched the first 10 right away, probably in my 30s. And instantly it was this is Star Trek. These are just episodes they couldn't do. And then finding out how the animation company sought out Leonard Nimoy specifically to get him in, and then everybody kind of found out he was doing it and they wanted to be involved. So when I watched it, I was like, wow, these sound like all the originals. And the more you hear it, you're like, these really are all the originals, except maybe one, I think. But they are
That would be
literally
Walter Koeing.
episodes. They are literally episodes that they had too many episodes in a season, and they're like, oh, I wish we could have done this. And then so they're like, oh, let's put it on the animated series. So that's totally the feeling I get from the animated series. And if you, from not being an elite Star Trek fan, but from loving Star Trek my whole life, if you don't watch that, you're really missing out on some good Star Trek material. Really a lot of it. You know what I mean? If you like those original guys and that original show and that everything about it, all of it comes through in the cartoon. So, and Star Trek overall, the original, I can't say this was probably running on TV in the years when I wasn't talking or walking or, so it's been ingrained in my life as long as I can remember. The first time, I can't remember. And that's what makes me think, they had to have introduced this to me when I just don't. It's always been there. So kindergarten on, when I actually do remember, I always remember it being there. It was my friend on late night, and as you get older, syndication starts and it goes crazy, and I just soak up everything. And every once in a while, you see an episode, you're like, I've never seen this one before. And then again, internet kind of comes up and you realize how many shows there are. And it's like, gosh, I probably haven't seen a lot of them. And even syndication, you find out later, doesn't syndicate all the episodes or all the seasons. It can go either way there. And it's like, wow, it really becomes I'm a fan and I'd love to see every episode kind of thing. And that's how it touched me early on. It just has always been there. Star Wars and Star Trek have never been in competition in my life. They're different things completely, and I look at them completely. I go to them for different reasons. And I have to admit, Star Trek is way more reality based for me. I never related to any one character all the way, but I relate to all of them in some way.
Yeah, that's the great thing about Star Trek. You don't have to relate to just one character. It doesn't even have to be a main character. How many, characters that have been guest stars,
And
special
I would,
appearances have we gravitated to throughout all the series?
well, I think Star Trek, just to touch on this because you mentioned it, Star Trek seemed to be like one of those shows, like how Love Boat, every week they had a new co-star. If Star Trek could have done that, I'm sure there would have been people beating down the door saying, yes, I'd love to be in Star Trek. Just like how everybody wanted to be in Star Wars. They're like, yeah, hell yeah, I want to be in that. I think more people would have liked to have done it than they would have realized. Like guests on planets, make them up as an alien, make them up as an admiral, do whatever. There's plenty of characters that don't matter. But it just, it's always been around. There is no other word to say it. It is ingrained in my life.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what Next Generation did. They started bringing in some heavy-hitter guest stars with that show. So, I mean, they had more of an opportunity than the original series to bring in some people that you didn't even realize was in there, like Mick Fleetwood or John Tesh.
And it was a new era.
Yeah.
And definitely a new era because
James
actors
Worthy. He was a Klingon.
actors could at that point say, I'm interested in this and not change the course of their whole career. Like, if a soap opera star said they liked Star Trek back then and was in an episode, they might not be back on their show. Because they're like, oh, you like that kind of acting? Okay, you're not our kind of person,
or it could be just the opposite. I can remember, and this is back in the 90s, where my mom told me, and she was a big fan of the Bold and Beautiful soap opera, and she told me that James Doohan was going to be guest starring on a couple of episodes as a character.
Is that? And that just makes me wonder. It's like, oh, I bet James Doohan's mom or grandma was like a big viewer of the soap operas or the stories or whatever they call them in Britain. I'm not exactly sure what they call them over there.
Serials.
There it is. Yeah. So the daytime serials. Yeah. The women that watch those shows, they know when different people come on for sure, but then they recognize that person could be on their show for one episode and they'll see him on something else. They're like, hey, he was on General Hospital.
Not a bad way to go.
True.
James Doohan lost a finger at D-Day. Dude, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I know. When I shook his
was a
hand,
World War II veteran.
It felt odd. Yeah. The first time I noticed that when I met him and shook hands, like, why does this feel like, oh, he's missing a finger? I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
Nice guy, though. Nice guy.
I can remember hearing him say that for a while he would hide his left hand because of the missing finger, but then it got to a point where he stopped hiding it. It's like it's part of who I am.
That was just the studio,
That's a big change, though, in our society as a whole. We can proudly talk about and display the things that we knew made us different back then. And now it's acceptable. And it's not weird or nerdy or anything like that. It's like, and to be honest, on our level is kind of tame compared to some others. And we're all big fans.
Yeah, some people have decked out their whole house to look like the bridge of the Enterprise, or they're inside of runabout or crew quarters of one of the ships. And
I saw a video. Somebody got one of those. Is it the Scion car, the Toyota or whatever? They had it wrapped. They had it wrapped like a shuttle from the Enterprise.
Original Enterprise.
No,
Like the
the D, the generation.
Okay.
So like those kind of
so
boxy
cool.
ones, and it looked pretty real. I was like, somebody who's more of a fan, you're like, wow. I don't know if you can pick a better design for that wrap.
No, not at all. Boxy,
Like,
Very, very
boxy,
true.
very
like
boxy.
like do a R2D2 on a Volkswagen Beetle, and I think we're cool.
And real quick before we get to the next question, I do want to ask Lord Crit the same question I've asked everybody else. What's your earliest memory of the original series and the animated series?
What you? Give me a minute. Give me a minute to reflect on
Okay.
that.
Well,
Yeah.
while you reflect on it, I'll go ahead and play a clip.
Can't be serious. The thing is virtually made out of stone. Help it. Treat it. I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer. You're a healer. There's a patient. That's an order.
I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer. That is one of my favorite Bones
Yeah.
quotes.
And on the comedic point,
So
first memories of Star Trek, that line, I'm a doctor, not a fill in the blank, and Kirk's two-handed over the head smash. That, I just, for whatever reason, those things I always remembered, and they can't forget it. Those imprints.
I remember watching because I got into a lot of the, when we had TV Heaven 41, again, UHF. They were basically playing all these old television shows, 12 o'clock, High Combat. Each night was special. You had, science fiction theater and all that for one night, and, the war, comedy, whatever, each night. And one of the shows they had was The Millionaire, if anyone's familiar with that, with James Bedford Gibson. He always gave $1 million check out to somebody randomly out there. Tax-free, and one of the episodes had DeForest Kelly in it. And what this is before Star Trek. He dropped the "I'm a doctor, not a" line in that episode. It's like, whoa, talk about foreshadowing. It's like can't remember what it was exactly, but it was just kind of a shock. It's like, wait a moment, I'm hearing this, but that's not the right show. And I think it was Nickelodeon that brought the animated back, because that's when I actually started sitting back and watching it again, because there was a lot. It didn't seem like it ever got any really play until about the 20th anniversary, 25th anniversary of Star Trek.
So I think
Well-
I'm ready now.
All right,
Okay.
Kurt.
Go ahead,
And then I'll
Kurt.
go after the king.
So my Star Trek. Well, I've said this before, and I think I've heard some blood vessels from Baron and Mike, and I was never a fan of TOS except for the movies. It wasn't my Star Trek. It's one of those shows where, I mean, if it's on MeTV, I'll watch it, but if I'm on Netflix or say Paramount Plus, I don't think I'll ever touch the TOS series and watch it on my own. It's not my choice. It's not my entertainment. I can't say the same for the Kirk Spock movies. I really enjoyed those with the Wrath of Khan and all the way to Undiscovered Country. There's a lot of friendliness there and a lot of warmth from those movies. But my Star Trek has always been Star Trek: The Next Generation or Deep Space Nine. I grew up watching the TNG movies before I watched the series. I think I grew up. I had my cousin had a old Enterprise D model that she gave me.
Okay.
Long ago when I was younger. I lost it, obviously. But I think it was one of those old play sets, but she had one in storage. I also still have like some old toys. Like I have the 90s Millennium Falcon, but I regret that I lost that Enterprise D play set.
It sucks.
But
Yeah.
the Next Generation, I just don't know how to describe it. For me, is the embodiment of the future, of how everyone should be, how there's a balance, how everyone's friendly, there's warmth, optimism. Yes, there are dark times, but it's mainly light. the Picard, Riker, LaForge, Data, Troy, Crusher. There are so many moments in the Next Generation, even from the bad seasons, that just gives me a lot of warmth, and especially I think, especially in the middle of TNG, that just gives me a lot of warmth, and I can sit back and watch it, and it really encompasses who I became today, because I wanted to follow the values that Picard set upon his crew. And the show teaches you things. In today's age where a lot of people, a television makes you stupid, the Next Generation I feel like it's missed. We will never get anything like that again.
No, we especially won't get any moments like this.
Military log supplemental. Lieutenant Tasha Yar has transferred to the Enterprise C, where she has taken over tactical duties. Meanwhile, our long-range scanners have picked up Klingon battle cruisers on an intercept course.
Number and type of ships, Mr. Crusher?
3 Cavort-class battle cruisers, sir.
They're not even troubling to cloak themselves.
I shouldn't be so confident after the pasting we gave them on Archer 4.
Attention all hands. As you know, we could outrun the Klingon vessels, but we must protect the Enterprise C until she enters the temporal rift. And we must succeed. Let's make sure that history never forgets the name Enterprise.
And that's all I'm going to show of it for right now.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Well,
Man, Enterprise C is such a beautiful starship.
Oh, it is. I love that design.
The Sovereign class, right? No, that's
Ambassador class.
No, Ambassador.
Yeah,
Did you guys ever see how the Enterprise C was gonna look? It was gonna look something like this, but that one I think was a little more beautiful than that. I mean, I don't hate the other design, but it has that bridge between the you're building a bridge between the what D we got and the C that is like an intermediary step. So yeah, I thought it was kind of cool.
It's interesting.
Nice.
I do like the Probert design that he came off with, and I wish they would have followed through. I do like the Ambassador. Don't get me wrong.
It's all right.
But
yeah, I mean, I like it, but that way I think would have been better. I think they didn't go with it because some of the lines now that was going to be hard for them to do on such a short time. So
that makes sense.
Became the ship that it was. Yeah.
I would like to ask a. I don't know if I can say this is a. Well, I have knowledge, obviously, but what is the dish on the Enterprises actually for? I've seen them use it as a weapon.
Yeah,
because they always have it on every version, and I'm wondering, like, what is it actually? What is its purpose?
Yeah, navigational deflector. Yeah, navigation.
It's supposed
because
to
on the first one, on the first Enterprise, it's like a big satellite dish.
Well, it's not just it's not just about your shields. It's not an inertial dampener. It's not about your shields. There's something in real physics called the Lorentz principle. Like you could be going but under the speed of light, not warp speed, but the faster you go with your impulse engines, if you even hit an asteroid or a meteorite, it's going to destroy your ship because of the
speed,
speed and everything. Right. Just so I think that's just like that's like a ramjet that just like clears the way in front of you, so you don't get hit with any particles in space.
Okay.
I think.
I just was never entirely sure if they gave it a defining thing. Because I know they've used it as a weapon. They've released gases through it. They've done several things. But it's like, well, what does it actually do, though?
Well, the deflector, I think it's called the deflector array, correct?
That's what that actually is.
Well,
okay.
In particular, we're looking at the deflective dish, and on the original Enterprise, you're absolutely right. It looked like a satellite dish. And interestingly, on later designs, you do have that those copper things all over the place, which still kind of, I think, like it shows that we still have some kind of dish thing going on now. Eric, I think you were partially right. I don't know if you were. I can't speak for how right or wrong I am, but essentially, as I understand it, the Bussard collectors on the front, they behave like Bussard ramjets, so they actually will collect interstellar hydrogen at high speeds and help to replenish hydrogen or whatever. Now, this guy here, the deflector dish, as I understand it, navigational deflector is, of course, like you say, you're going so fast now that micrometeorites can tear a hole in your hull, and so this is supposed to essentially, as opposed to a shield, a straight up shield, this is more like deflecting things as they're approaching. So I guess we would, illustrate, you're going to have a field coming out of this guy here, and as particles that are small enough to be deflected go, something like that.
I can understand what you guys are saying completely, because calculations don't involve things they can't detect. If a starship is just cruising around and happens to be in your path, you're not going to want to destroy it. You're going to want to bump it out of the way. Now I want to see one of those scenarios happen.
Well, typically you're going to be dealing with smaller particles, things that are beyond detection.
Right.
If something's large enough to be seen on sensors, you can navigate around it or blow it up.
Like, see, we could have easily seen a crossover. A couple X-Wings are doing patrol, and they get tossed around. What the hell was that? That was a starship.
Well,
What's a starship?
Compared to a starship, those X-Wings would be pretty puny, so perhaps they would be too small to be seen. No, I'm messing around. I shouldn't be knocking Star Wars.
I will say Star Trek was the first. It pushed me to get my first photo op with a celebrity. I never really got one before. Well, I think I got one. I don't know, but
who was the first? Who popped the proverbial cherry there? Oh, nice.
Jonathan Frakes.
Very wonderful guy.
Go ahead and
so awesome.
Bring that up a little bigger.
Oh,
yeah. Look, he's with Phil McCracken. He's with Phil McCracken. Look at that.
That's so endearing.
That's so awesome.
Last year at Fan Expo Boston, the line for Jonathan Frakes was so long, and there was nobody in line for John Delancey. So I hopped into John Delancey's line, and I got to speak to him for 5 minutes.
Oh my God!
We shot the shit.
When I got to
I find that funny.
Yeah, it was great. I'm a chef. Like, I was doing this here, and blah blah woof woof. Food, like,
He's got the blueprints.
Schematics.
He's going Galaxy Quest on us right here.
Dude, I love it.
It's just a show. It's just a show. No.
Real quick before we go on to the next question, I do want to get Cash's first memories of the original series and the animated series.
Right.
Oh, you don't want to leave me out? No, I'm kidding.
Oh, I don't want to leave you out, Cash.
So Phil McCracken can start his nonsense again. But no, I think probably one of the first memories was the Tribbles on the original Star Trek series. Yeah, the Tribbles, the little fuzzy things. I was like, what are these things? It's just so weird. And then I also remember even watching some of the original series, but just like Crit, I started really getting into Star Trek because of the Next Generation. Because when I was still young, that watching that episode of the Borg. But before all that, because my dad and my brother were already into Star Trek, that I just remember McCoy talking to Spock or talking to Kirk, or them walking around, or he's flirting with a woman or whatever. It was just, Kirk was, I know, right? That's right, Eric. And it just was interesting. I'm like, oh, these are cool conversations. And then recently, the first episode was on that I don't think I've ever watched all of, was of Khan. And if you're going to get to watch any Star Trek, I would definitely start with an episode like that, because it's just great. Yes. He's cunning. He manipulates people. He does things like Paul. No, I'm kidding.
Hello.
Nice outfit.
Thank you. It's all thanks to this guy, Baron.
Nice.
Yes, it is. Yes.
It's a good combat.
Promise the world order.
Yeah.
We.
That was
But-
my Star Trek uniform I had in fandom, but we can talk about that later.
It's a nice com badge.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I got the com badge and all the
Pips.
4 things up here.
Yeah.
You're captain.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, thanks
But-
for having me on here, Mike.
Not a problem, brother.
Yeah. But yeah,
I-
the Star Trek TOS is just it's very interesting, and I even got to see the bridge, like a replica of it, when we got to, we were in this like computer club at community college before I transferred to a university, and we got to go to this place called Lightwave, and they had actually worked on the original bridge of TNG, and so we got to see a replica of that. That was really cool.
That's
Wow.
awesome, brother.
It was smaller than I thought it was, but yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
So
Actually,
yeah,
that bridge is smaller than the one that they had in the original series, just to let you know.
that's
Wow.
interesting.
Actually
Yeah.
smaller.
Mhm. It's very interesting. But yeah, the conversations, and then the tribbles, and then the attractive women that come on the show, because how dare attractive women, I know, right? In the 60s, for sure. I know, right, Eric?
Boom.
Cocktail waitresses.
Hello there. Since I hate that one
But
so much.
some people I just feel will never give Star Trek a chance because there's so much talking in there. Oh no, how terrible! Interesting
no.
conversations. How terrible!
I can't do it.
Well, like the older we get, even as a young person, once you get your head around Shakespeare's use of language, you discover a kick-ass storytelling. You really do.
Mhm.
So I think the same thing can be said about Star Trek. Once you get over the hokiness of its, of its dated look and the special effects, and I even think that the remaster, that the improved special effects for the original series, those are great. They're pretty seamless. I can't complain.
You go back and even watch the old show, and it's like I don't understand what people are always a number of people, maybe newer fans, complain about the budget. It still holds up pretty well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just the budget; it was the time. Trying
Right,
to put that out.
exactly.
They're complaining about the budget, like they didn't have enough, or not, or they had too much.
Right.
They just think it looks cheap, and I don't
Well,
think-
Yeah.
come
But
on.
look
At that
look at all the
time,
shows from the 60s.
they
and how
they
all
don't
look.
Right.
they don't come from an era when TV was looking at that show and literally laughing. Like,
Right.
you want us to do what? Are you insane? That we'll lose everything. The company will go under. I could only imagine what that meeting sounded like. Because they think we're in a generation now where I've heard people say, I can't imagine what it's like for somebody to not understand a gay perspective. Like, how can you be mean to them? And it's like, okay, you haven't been in a time when you were mean about everything, which was 5 years earlier than when you were born. Time change, that kind of stuff changed so quickly in our era. Just
Well,
when things that could be accepted and then, or nothing was accepted, and then it was like everything was accepted, and there were no fights like there are now.
Right,
All
exactly.
I gotta say, Pat, I want
And
to
there was
I'm against it.
there was even betrayal, if I remember, in the original Star Trek show.
Oh yeah,
against Kirk. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that dude does such outrageous stuff that half the crew is with him. They're like, "Yeah, let's do it," and half the crew's like, "What did I get myself into? I'm trying to study plants."
You know what I mean?
All the red shirts are sitting. All the red shirts are sitting in the transporter room as they're polishing their feet and going, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow, death I will fear no evil for."
Captain over
I'm
here.
gonna die. I'm gonna die.
Now that we've been talking about the original series and Next Generation a little bit more, something comes directly to mind. First memories, because it was the first episodes of both series. One of the first episodes, and it could be the first episode of the original series, is when he's fighting the Gorn, right? two different species are thrown down on a planet to compete.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
and then
arena.
and then in one of the original first episodes of The Next Generation, two alien beings are thrown down on a planet, and we get Gilgamesh and Jalad at Tanagra. And it's a
Stuck
much
on the wall
more
spell.
Darmok
peaceful
and Jalad.
Darmok and Jalad, yeah.
and
His eyes open.
at Tanagra.
Great.
But
That's a great episode.
the
His
difference-
eyes uncovered.
And I can't say all the episodes are more violent, but the original series is a little bit more heavy in the hand-to-hand action.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the era, and now that we've all have retrospect on Next Generation seems to be like, okay, humans are at their pinnacle. Like, we are at our pinnacle, and now we're in the universe, and not everybody else is at their pinnacle, but they think they are. Like, Klingons think they are at their pinnacle because they're at their strongest. That's the only reason they think they're as high as everybody else, And so it's just while both series still address all the same things, but that tension, Kirk and Picard. Kirk is like, I will beat you by all means necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And Picard's kind of can't we all just get along? But if you step over this line that I've pulled back 4 or 5 times, we're done.
The line must be drawn. Yeah.
Yes.
Look, father.
There, Picard
Well, there was
draws
a
a
real-
line in the sand later than
There's a
Kirk.
real tonal shift in the show after Roddenberry passes away, when everything became shifted towards Dominion War between DS9, Voyager, and then it just like it became action adventure shows. So that was just, but there's a real fondness for the early show, for early TNG and then TOS, because it is cerebral. It's not action adventure. It's something else, and it was something new. It was it had elements of everything. But
wasn't it you, Baron, that told me one time when I was going through TNG for the first time that Roddenberry's vision for how the crew interacted with each other in TNG was basically no internal conflict whatsoever. It's all very much we get along 100% of the time.
Right. Which, of course, and that way brings out the passion. Doesn't bring the passion of humanity, where we can disagree, but we're still friends afterwards, just like Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. I mean, they're all friends. Kirk needs Spock and McCoy as a sounding board. One's logic,
And
one's
not one time
spirit.
in any of these multiple series did we ever hear anybody say, "Don't yell at me."
Right.
No, we didn't. And real quick, before we move on to talking about the movies and, of course, Next Generation, DS9, Voyager, Enterprise, I do want to ask Paul, since you haven't seen the animated series, you don't have a first memory of the animated series to go by.
True.
But your first memory of the original series.
Oh, man. Okay, so I got to go pretty much back to the very beginning of when Fandomology, formerly known as the Star Wars guys, came about, where it kind of stems back to Echo Base Network and Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett, and kind of also Nerdporeal Lifeform, who is a mutual friend of all of us here.
Always Mr. Paul to me.
Absolutely. And hearing the way that they talk so passionately about Star Trek, and kind of realizing, wait a minute, there's more than this. There's more than just movies to this franchise. I kind of heard of Next Generation, but I thought that showing how stupid I was, that was a movie, The Next Generation. But realizing, oh wait, there's a show that came out in the 60s. There's Next Generation is its own show. There's a show that I had never heard of before called Deep Space Nine. And I was like, okay, I got to start checking this out, because I for sure had not seen the movies. And so I decided, before I see the movies, okay, let me go through the original series. At the time, I found it on Amazon Prime. It was free to stream for Prime members, and this was before I realized just how long each episode was. I thought I saw, okay, 3 seasons, 20 odd episodes each. I should be able to knock this out, no problem. That obviously did not happen, but it was still a very, very fun ride. And then one thing led to another, led to me meeting most of the people here on this panel: Mike, Baron, Cash, Crits, TJ, Padawannabe, and of course other people along the way, Phil being one of them. But but no, it's
I feel
don't know.
But no, I'm glad that I've gotten into Star Trek. In fact, there's some days that I do consider myself more of a Star Trek fan than I am a Star Wars fan. And yeah, I don't intend to stop.
No,
Now,
nobody should.
I'm curious, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the first of all, I want to give huge props out to what Star Trek did, even past Gene Roddenberry, because they actually told a story that tied in and didn't mess with any of the other stuff.
Right.
They consciously did that. They went out of their way to say, okay, I respect this. And I'm sure as creative people, they all said, I would love to write some new original idea. But they all were very happy to do what they did. Whether there was discussions or whatever, they held on to that quote unquote expanded universe for that many series after that. You know, and I have to give respect to that, because that's saying something that a lot of people hate on the Star Wars universe for. It's like, oh, well, people don't really keep adhering to rules. And it's like, no, that's not true. They did it not for a few years. They did it for decades. You just aren't recognizing it, or you haven't read up on your history, you know, as any even old people don't know history. I can't say just because you get older, you know more. That's not always the case. Yeah. But what Star Trek did is they tied it in, and I have to give them respect for that. And I also have to give the respect that people can jump into Star Wars or Star Trek in a series, and it interests them enough that they want to go back. Like their Star Trek might be DS9 or Enterprise or whatever. But from what you get in that story, you want to reach deeper. Those are the real fans. You know, those are the fans that want to know more. That when, like, an author writes a new book and they don't even care to get it on discount. They're like, I've been waiting for this. You know, just that anticipation is what makes the real fandom.
Hi, Mouse.
To me. You know, it doesn't matter what you're into. If you can anticipate something that much, you're in it. Just don't hate on just don't hate on somebody for not standing in the line the first day. No. I mean, come on.
That's true. And you know, speaking of anticipating something, think about, and Baron could probably attest to this better than myself, but when the motion picture was coming out and all the hype built around that, you know, you're hearing news that the original cast is coming back.
Happy Meal. It was the first Happy Meal from McDonald's in 1979. Really? We were talking about this earlier.
Yes,
I had it.
And I
was 7 years old.
I had the same communicator you had.
Yeah,
that little story you have. Yeah.
Dude, and a quick interjection: anticipation back then was so much higher because when that next Star Trek movie came out, that was going to be the cutting edge technology that we have only seen in a few movies. Not every movie. Not every movie was trying to compete. Everybody was like, we have a drama, we have this. It wasn't really about numbers, money numbers the way it is now. They just want highest box office no matter what. Back then, if they were highest drama on a weekend, they were happy. That was their category. They were complacent. But Star Trek, any sci-fi, up to a certain point, you hear about, you're like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing, because we're going to see stuff we've never seen before. Literally movie after movie after movie, year after year after year. And that it was a different kind of anticipation.
I want to say Star Trek, the motion picture, in my humble opinion, gets better every time I watch it. It's just vast. It's beautiful. It's a counterpoint to Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey visually, but Star Trek flavored. And they don't fire the weapon. Star Trek 1 and Star Trek 4 are pacifist movies. They don't use their weapons. I mean, they fire the photon
It's a
torpedo
last
once
resort.
to get out of the wormhole, but they don't fire their weapons in anger at all in Star Trek's 1 or 4. I mean, that's it. That's a great message, I think. I mean, you didn't have to use your pews.
Yeah.
It's all about.
I don't care how many times people tell me motion picture is slow. I still think it's a good movie. I do. I don't care.
I love the costumes.
Yes.
And visually, even no matter what the story, each one of those movies when they came out, whether they made it to the Academy or not, were probably all considered for special effects. There's no question. Even when you get to, I remember being a kid watching Star Trek 4. Okay, when the cloaked Klingon ship lands and it crushes the trash can, I went, that actually looked real. It didn't look stop motion or any weird thing we'd seen before. I was like, whoa, that was the realest fake crush I've ever seen. And that's some ridiculous stuff to look at, that specifically. But I just, those things, you know.
I like when you kind of Phil's jib.
What when you see the refit Enterprise, you know what they took of the original Enterprise and then upgraded it.
It was the same ship.
That's ship porn.
Yeah. That was the opening.
Tech porn.
There you go. Tech porn. Yep.
I equate it to the fact that when you start with the motion picture, you saw the new Enterprise. It was like seeing your old girlfriend sitting there. My God, she looks even better than she did in high school. And that's the analogy I make on that.
That's a good way to put it.
Right. I mean,
I like
those that had ex-girlfriends that did look better after high school. Some didn't.
I do remember.
Or we can hear on a little bit more relatable thing. Like you're in high school and you see the dude with the beat up old car, and then you see him in college a few years later, and you're like, "Wow, you really fixed that thing up, didn't you?" New paint job. He's got the large, the large filter on there. He's got the ported exhaust.
So
I'm gonna. Because the Enterprise is a beautiful lady. We love her. We love her.
Simon Pegg thought that in 2009. I liked his sense of humor. I can't wait to get my hands on her ample muscles. That was cute.
I am gonna disagree with you guys though on this, and say that I still prefer the OG Enterprise over the refits.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I still love the old.
I got nothing wrong with the original Enterprise.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad design at all.
Yeah,
but
the only thing I was weird with the original Enterprise, the only thing that bothered me is the pieces that hold the engines on. Is that like only enough room for 2 turbo lifts, or what is that?
I don't think you have turbo lifts. You have Jeffrey's tubes.
Yes,
correct.
Jeffrey's tubes going up there.
So if they enter atmosphere, wouldn't those things snap off?
No. That's why Star Trek technology is so advanced. Star Trek technology is so advanced that they can make those little flimsy things, and it works. And that's because of their structural integrity field, of course.
Windows, of course. I mean, we all know that the shuttle bay does not make sense. That's fine. It's our imaginations that fuel that.
Okay.
Voyager shuttle bay doesn't make sense.
I've heard this. I've heard this. Why doesn't it make sense?
Because the scale of the Galileo.
Oh, it's just the size of it. The size of it.
Oh. And there's a hangar deck.
No, it's not an argument of like, oh, well, why would they have to fly past the engines to get to safety? No. Yeah, I didn't know if it was a thing. I didn't know what that was about.
Is there room for the hangar deck underneath the shuttle bay? Because there's supposedly like an elevator and an entire hangar deck with multiple shuttles.
Right.
In
the original Franz Joseph blueprints, you had a lower level, and beneath that was the infamous bowling alley. FASA, for the role-playing game, took his prints and basically made it that there were 3 levels there: the shuttle bay, and whatever. Then there was like maintenance beneath that. He moved the bowling alley somewhere else because there has to be a bowling alley because it was said in that there's a bowling alley on board the ship.
This is where you insert your nerd clip, Pacific.
You want me to nerd out? I can out-nerd all of you. I guarantee you.
For this show, I didn't use any of the Pop Talk clips.
By the way,
No,
DJ.
but the thing-
Hello, Jack. Hello, Rose.
Hey, what up, Rose?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Paul has the
Welcome.
conch.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, DJ, since you had your model of the Enterprise D, I had to bring up mine.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's larger
Hold
too.
on, Paul. Keep it up there on screen. Let me.
Yeah.
Man,
That's the one I almost bought when I was 12 years old. Instead, I got the original Enterprise.
Ooh, so interesting.
this
Yeah,
one-
that's the Playmate one, right?
Yeah, this is the one that I got from ICC Con this past time I went.
Nice.
Oh wait, that's a Playmate. Like the Playmate one's a good one. Because I have that
This
one.
thing is great,
Me
but
too.
I tell you what, putting the stickers on this thing though was
Uh-huh.
a royal pain, and I didn't even get
Yeah.
all of them before I got too frustrated and just gave it up and said it's good enough. And it makes sound.
Warning, enemies entering neutral
Ooh,
zone.
that's cool.
Indeed.
Oh, that's not the like.
mine doesn't make those
It's not a
sounds.
model you put together from scratch, like from the mold.
I don't think so. It was
Okay.
like the components were already pre-made. All I had
Okay,
to
okay.
actually attach was the
Maybe
cells
mine's
here,
different then.
and then of
Thought it
course
was
the
Playmate.
display stand when I want to use it.
Oh, that's nice. I
Yeah,
don't.
I
I
mean,
have
yours
a
makes
model
different
of that
noises.
one.
Oh, there we go.
I have the
How
normal
beautiful she
model
is.
of the D. I have those small micro machine die cast ones.
Yep.
I have one of those. I have the Excelsior with that, but I do have the only the only Star Trek piece
It was
that I
nice-
do
It was
have.
nice knowing them.
0, just
That's funny.
0. Sorry, what?
The only
The
only piece I do have of Star Trek, I do have the 1701D in Lego. I was gonna
man,
build it
that's
for this,
cool.
but I thought it would
Nice.
take too much time because I have to. I don't have the instructions anymore, so I got to look it up online.
I love how round her saucer section is, and I love that fluting right there. That looks like the A refit. You know what I mean? Just
Right.
Yeah, you can
Reminds
see
me-
elements of the A in there. You can see elements of the
I'm
B in
sorry.
there.
Thank you.
He referenced that last thing, and I was like, now it makes me want to see if it's like a kazoo.
Him holding the balls like that was like, the episode where that,
That's nice. Oh, is that the micro machine one?
Yes, it is. Phantom Wannabe.
Very cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
just a
The
moment. I'll
detail
be
on
right
those
back.
are so. The detail on those micro machines was next level
Nice.
back then. All those little cars they made and all that stuff they made was amazing.
Yes, folks, we're passionate about this IP. Very passionate about it.
Yes, and we're the fans. You are the fans too. If you're new fans, you're welcome here.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I know.
Absolutely.
What a concept.
Eat plebnista to the new fans. It matters to the Yangs and the Khans.
we have
or it
cookies.
doesn't matter. At all.
Okay. Okay.
All right, Darren, what do you got?
What do you got?
Well, I got my
This is fun.
box of toys here, and of course,
I'll give you
there's one
12
way we
bars
got
of
to
cold
get the-
pressed platinum. 12 bars, human.
Hold it over your shirt. Hold it over your shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
there
short
you
term.
go. Hold it
There you
over
go.
your body.
Shirt.
There
There
you
you go.
go.
Yeah.
There we
Yeah.
Nice.
But
Oh,
the one
there
I
you
was
go.
trying
Is
to
that
The
take
quad
out
is
here-
that the quad engine? Is that the
Human
quad
played
engine?
John
Yeah.
Jot. All right.
Stargazer. That's the Stargazer. But I'm
Okay,
trying to
so
find
if they
the-
got
I
four
got-
warp
okay,
engines on them, they technically would be able to go faster, correct? Or is that
Not
not?
necessarily. Not
Okay.
generate
necessarily.
power.
If they were
Now,
the
going
same
back to
size as the ones on the Enterprise. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Now, going back to the Galoob days, they had this for a special. Honey Nut Cheerios had this, and you could get yourself this small. I have two of them actually. My former wife's and mine. She gave me hers for some reason, but that came in the mail, and you can have the
Wow,
sausage stuff with it.
mine can't even do that.
Well, yeah. What? Yeah. Well,
Wow, that one comes with a cloaking device.
Yeah. Of course, we got the cube. How boxy. But
yeah,
I mean,
we are the Borg.
You can have a Rubik's cube and just put.
Yeah. Oops.
Earth space dock.
Oh, Earth
Yep.
regular regular one. Or is
Nice.
regular one? No, regular one has 4 bays. Okay.
Yeah. And then, of course, we have the Excelsiors, Enterprise, and the Excelsior itself. I know someone who had the NX one, which I guess is pretty damn valuable now.
Mm-hmm.
I lost my ship. Where'd my ship go?
Okay, so
it went into a temporal anomaly. It's now in the future or possibly the past.
Why was the Excelsior so much bigger than the Enterprise?
Why not?
Was
To
it?
accommodate the transwarp drive system.
But what did they do? I'm just
Transwarp
curious.
drive? That
No,
was just-
like what did the Excelsior do? Because
It
we
failed.
didn't have military we didn't have a military wing, so to speak.
Mhm.
And if the Enterprise, it was probably basically aesthetically the most pleasing ship to shake hands with.
I just
So
think
why
it
would
was
they
the evolution? It was just when F-16
just
to
a
F-22.
larger? Okay,
You know,
Right.
They
something
can
like
do
that.
more with less. And,
Territorial.
okay,
Yeah,
a ship this size can still handle like that.
Enterprise.
Okay.
Why is
Yeah,
the
I
Galaxy class so big? Well, they're made to be able to go out further, longer, not have 5-year missions, have longer missions, and
Exploration missions
larger ship.
where there's. I can understand that because after the first series, the Enterprise is no longer an exploration vessel. They're the flagship. They're the shake hands with us. Okay. That
Yeah.
makes,
Well, yeah,
that
this
makes
is a lot
sense.
about the
That makes
G,
sense.
though.
Next generation.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
It's just a lot about the
next-
G and
yeah,
its
yeah,
mission.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
It made
The
room
next
for
generation
families.
was the one where the Enterprise became the family ship, and also the flagship. There we go. That's a beautiful one. The Stargazer.
Mine are all Eagle
Constellation
Moss.
class.
This is now. I love some of these Eagle Moss come with great design magazines, and I got a binder for the smaller ones. Eagle Moss are great. Actually, the Eagle Moss folded, yet the production company is getting a new name and a new owner, so you will still see these level of great little models, and you should get them there because they're usually affordable. Look at that hull. They took 2 primary hulls and glued them together. Is that Probert? That might have said that, and that's why you have the almost identical upper and lower. But Stargazer was meant to be a long range, and military type of vessel, hence the extra nacelles. And
All the
interesting
shuttle
story.
bays. Those are all shuttle bays.
Yeah, and Picard became he was there was an accident and the command crew got killed and he assumed command because he was the highest junior officer and he kept command, and that's why he was Stargazer's captain for 16 years before Enterprise.
Yeah, he was for a long time the captain of the Stargazer. Interesting note also. Take a look at the bottom there. Take a look in the bottom there, though. Bring the bottom. Now, you see that little armature thing that's kind of jutting out from that one bump? Kind of looks like a bridge dome underneath there. On the original from that's from ILM, that was from a transformer. They used a transformer to put that part on.
Which transformer was it?
I don't know. They just said, that came from a transformer.
I was just gonna say I'd be interested. I'd be interested to know which transformer it was.
Hey, Eric, just curious, do you have Defiance?
I have an ISS Defiant. You want to see her?
Ooh, yes.
Yeah,
Isn't
let's
that
see her.
cool? That's why I got
Go
her.
get your toys.
I like the
Do it now.
DS9 there, like to the left of your TV screen.
Yeah, that shit's cool.
Which one?
I got so many toys.
The actual space station, Deep Space Nine there, that's really
Yeah, that's Eric Nor. We hang out here.
We must exploit Eric. He doesn't come on enough. So we must exploit Eric.
This is his first time, so
That's what I'm
show
saying.
some away. And speaking of Deep Space Nine, I'm going to go ahead and show a Deep Space Nine moment.
No.
You're a Ferengi. Why would you want to be in Starfleet? Where's the profit in it?
I don't care about profit.
Then what do you care about? Come on now, tell me. Why is it so damned important that you get into Starfleet? Why are you doing this?
Because I don't want to end up like my father.
And that's why it's important for a black man to raise children.
Yes.
No, I'm
kidding.
Dude, I'm a
Wow,
chef.
that just came out of nowhere. Where's
I'm a chef.
I don't want to be what the.
Because he can grab somebody of a different race and get away with it.
Dude, Grandpa Cisco's my favorite character. He's a chef. He's the chef.
Yep. Now
here's the
Oh,
ISS
that's
Defiant.
nice.
Yeah, this is
Very
great.
nice.
This is when I watched it, when I was watching the show, and I'm like, oh, they got a ship? It's on now.
Little.
Pacific.
Yeah, it's
Tough little
basically-
ship.
okay. You
Little.
know it's cool because if you ever
That's
know
like a
that
fighter.
you know your Oberth class, that thing was tiny. It was probably the size of Defiant almost, but like,
Okay.
you know
Could
what I
this
mean?
be one of Enterprise's first actual fighter?
Yes.
Well,
fighter. I mean, because it holds a bigger
what-
crew. It's
they
not
had fighters
like a single.
in.
They had like
Mhm.
single fighters and stuff like that, but this is definitely
Mhm.
this is like
This
like
was-
equivalent to what the
This
in
is
the
a
Rebels,
weapon.
the Ghost,
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
That-
Well,
and
yeah,
this
it's
is
a
a weapon.
gunship. Yeah.
a gunship. There
And
you go.
all-
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a gunship, and of all no, obviously with the Star Trek.
Look, he's got them all set in front under his TV. He's got all of
Yeah.
them set up there.
I got a Starfleet.
Yeah. So I mean,
You know
if
they
go
don't
with
fly
the-
like that in formation, right?
We got good pilots. We got well-trained pilots here in Starfleet. I like that.
But
You got to be the
Blue
best for the
Angels.
best to be in Starfleet.
You got Wesley Crusher's old Starfighter crew.
We can bust Wesley's balls all we want, but that was a cool cameo in yesterday's Enterprise. He just showed up. What was that, season 5 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there he is. Boom. He's just
3. Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
It
cool.
was season 3.
Season 3
Thank you.
was yesterday's
Yeah, but-
Enterprise.
Mm-hmm. You know, the one thing is, if people in the Star Wars community, obviously got upset because the old EU came to an end and they had the new Disney canon. But the thing is, a Star Trek fan sat back again, first time, because the lore of Star Trek has changed so much from the 60s on. So, yeah, in some Star Trek, we do have battleships. And if you want to go into the Starfleet universe, the Starfleet Battles universe. That's of course you had, which was at one time official by Gene Roddenberry until he decided to stick a knife in his back. Franz
Yeah, I have
Joseph
to
had
interject. I have to interject out of curiosity because I wanted to ask this before and I forgot already. Now, Star Wars novels were expanded universe.
Yes.
Correct.
Star Trek
Comics.
were they only recreations of episodes in the novels?
No, but
No.
It was interesting
Well,
because
yes,
Star
they
Wars.
did.
Yes.
I was just
Yes.
curious if there was a real expanded universe in the novels or if it was just because I have a couple books and it's like, well, aren't these just Star Trek episodes?
Real quick,
Well-
take a pause on that question real quick because something came up and Crit has to go, so I want to give Crit a
Oh,
chance
okay.
to promote himself.
Hey, Crit.
Yo, Crit.
Go ahead,
Wiki,
Crit.
wiki, Ix and Bakey.
Hello.
Ricky.
Hands off Nikki.
I am a killer whale and I am a captain. I wear the red of command and I have 4 pips.
But I'm not a killer whale
making your
that
story up for
attacks
you.
random boats.
But
I'm a nice killer whale.
Want to bet?
we're the next generation from the whales came back to San Francisco, and the killer whales came back, and now we take command of starships. I am the first killer whale in Starfleet camp.
Well, they do have a Cetacean. Baron, do you agree or disagree that there's a Cetacean ops on the Enterprise blueprints, and if that means the Enterprise has a whale? Okay, cool.
The Enterprise
They are the
D, and they even make mention of it that there is the dolphin area on board the Enterprise Delta. Which, it's like, well, take it for what it's worth. I think even the New Trek kind of glommed onto that for one of their shows.
Yeah, I think it was
But yeah,
Lower Decks. But
Yeah,
but real
I didn't
quick,
want to see the name. I didn't want to see the name.
real quick to answer your question, Padawan, be as far as the Star Trek books were concerned, whether they were recreations of stories, some were continuations of episodes that we'd seen,
Right.
just in book form.
Okay, that makes
Yeah, see,
sense
what you
because
had-
if you read
Yes.
like I have episode 1 of Star Wars and a few other movie books.
Sure, yeah, it doesn't
And
matter.
it seems like, oh, this is actually what he wanted to do.
Yes,
But he
those are
couldn't
based
do
on-
it all
they're
because
based on our other screenplays
in
too.
episode 1 they mention the first race with Sebulba, Anakin does, but in the book it happened. It's the first thing that happens in the book.
If Sebulba didn't flash
So-
me with his
Yep.
I would have won that.
So
and just-
I was
Anakin-
curious if it was like, oh, this is the whole story, and then they had to fit it in, like the.
I got
the
your
screenplay,
answer.
You know,
I got your answer. What you had was there was a series of books. There was 2 series of books that novelized episodes of both the original series and the animated. But they're like several stories in it. They're like almost like little short stories in bigger books. So you had like 3, 4, 5 stories that were basically novelizations of the episodes. But when it went out there, you had the original one. It went from a couple of different book companies. One from Batten to I can't remember who else. But they would go out there and have original Star Trek along with photo stories. That's where they had the photos and basically made it into a comic book. And they did that for a lot of episodes. Star Trek Motion Picture and Star Trek 2 was the last movie. Then you got into the comic books. You had the Golden Key comics. Then you had the motion picture era comics. We had post Star Trek 2 because they never did do a novelization of that at the time. There was one that came out much later. And that was run by DC, and then there was all sorts of flipping around with the various episodes. Now, there were novelizations of episodes such as David Gerald novelized the first episode of Next Generation in kind of a form. And when you had a special episode like Relics or Unification, those were novelized as well as the first episode of Deep Space Nine. There might be some other.
there's one I know. The one I know I have is Here There May Be Dragons, or whatever that title is exactly. But that's the one. It's like, oh, this is actually an episode of the show.
Would you like a very decent suggestion for a great Star Trek story to enjoy tomorrow if you haven't gotten to it yet?
I haven't gotten to it.
It's called The Entropy Effect by Vonda McIntyre. And it was
it a
written
novel?
Yes, and it's
So I can go to a bookstore and get this?
Yes.
Okay.
And this is Star Trek number 2.
We
This is
need a
number 2.
link or a message in the comments.
I can do that. And but there's a thing called like the
Excellent
pocket
choice.
novels, and the pocket novels were numbered 1 through there was 80, and they went from 79 to 2005, I think. And
So it
something
basically
like that.
is like certain runs or new
They
stuff.
have run, they have arcs,
and then
but-
other publication companies would do the other stuff. Okay.
I love the pocket novels, man. But Entropy
All over.
Effect
Yeah, those were
holds
great.
up.
The
This is a
relaunch,
good story.
the
I'll put it in
relaunch
the link.
novels
Crit
are
Sword.
probably the closest you'll get to a true continuation of the old Star Trek.
And
I got
because he said he had to leave.
Okay.
Oh,
No, he got the
He fixed that problem.
Oh, he's done.
He got
Okay,
it
okay.
done.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
didn't mean to cut you
That's
off,
why-
man. Sorry about that.
Put your
But yeah,
phaser on
that's the-
stun. Yeah, all right.
and that's an excellent
Phasers and fun.
pick there, Eric O'Sullivan, with the entropy effect, because Vonda McIntyre, did also the novelization of Star Trek 2 and Star Trek 3.
Yes, the movie
putting some
novelizations
other
too.
stuff. Right, and
She's the one that brought in she's the one that they invented the relationship between David Marcus and Savick in Part 3.
Right.
That's only in the novelization.
Right, and they
Yeah,
basically
did you know
brought
that?
in stuff that they had planned for the episode for the movie, but they cut it all out.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
what's nice about the entropy effect, it's not just a good Star Trek story. I think it's one of the best ones they put out in the pocketbook line, if not the best. But it's also great science fiction as well. You don't need to be a Star Trek fan to read that and enjoy
It's a good
the fact
detective
that
story
this is
too. Spock
Yeah,
is
it's a-
as detective.
right.
That's great.
That's
and
what
the
I
quote
tell
for you,
people about
Kirk
the
is
new
still-
movies, about the Kelvin
And Kirk
series.
is
You
still-
don't have to be a Star Trek fan to enjoy them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But
I know.
but for different reasons on that one. But the thing is just to spoil it, Kirk gets killed right away. He's dead.
Yes,
in this
with
novel.
with a gun, but a projectile weapon gun.
Okay,
Yes.
when does this happen? This crossover
after-
he's talking about.
Uh,
Obviously, Riker's there, but where in the X-Men universe does this take place?
I picked this up in the mid '90s. I've had
Okay,
it.
so it's
Yeah, this
I
they've
can
done-
fit it in then. All right, so it was
They've
basically
done a lot of
probably a
crossovers.
real time. It was generation with whoever what was running at the time. So okay,
Right.
Dyson's fair. Yeah, see
Yeah.
that would just be a recreation of an episode, correct, or a screenplay, more or less.
No,
Like,
they
this is
already
what
did
this
that.
is
That
what the
was- they
story
did-
is.
Probe.
Yeah.
That
Well,
see,
they
Probe
could-
was based
new.
upon
Is
the
that
race
new?
that we met in Star Trek 4. It's not.
So
Star
that's an
Trek 4, they're
original
not-
one.
Yes, and it
Okay.
fleshes out the
Yeah.
the why of the probe.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. The
You
Dyson
said-
Sphere is
oh,
a,
that would be
a
interesting
story
to
that
read.
wasn't
Pretty
an
cool.
episode, but based off of the episode. That was Relics, which they did.
Oh, is
novel.
that okay?
In fact,
Okay.
in Relics, they novelized it. They added a lot of stuff in that novel that you never saw that made it even better. If you felt
The
we're kinda
Relics. That's
disappointed
when
by
we see
Relics,
Scotty again.
Right. Yeah, Scotty.
How are you going to get a reputation as a miracle worker?
And then I also have this one that my late mother found at a Dollar Tree one day.
Nice.
Oh wow.
Now he's
Oh,
showing
that's
us
really
all
nice.
these books. Now I want to ask anybody: does anybody own William Shatner's spoken word stuff?
I do.
Do you?
Yeah, it's called
Because I
Bears.
actually,
really old
I
stuff.
actually heard he got like really acclaimed for it and got some
Yeah.
awards and junk for that, and that's hilarious to me.
It's
'Cause
called
didn't
Leonard,
he do
My
like?
50-Year Friendship, and it's a.
But didn't he also do something where he like sang beatnik style
Yes.
songs? Like he's just
Oh,
saying the
It's
lyrics
kitschy stuff. He
over.
did.
Oh,
He
yes.
had two of,
Okay.
he had two of those things. Yeah, in the early,
Yeah.
in the late '60s, but also in the
Oh
early
my
'90s
gosh,
with Ben
that's
Folds.
it. Yes, I
He had
remember
a
when they
second-
came back out because I remember G4 TV covering that stuff.
Yes.
I think he
I've
came
never-
out with
I've
one
never-
just recently too.
The most
Oh, man,
absurd
he's
one I've
great.
ever heard is Will Shatner's
deep,
rendition of
baby.
Mr. Tambourine Man.
Dive deep,
Oh.
baby. Dive
Mr.
deep.
Tambourine Man.
Yeah.
I love Rocket Man though. I love Rocket Man.
Me too.
And he just
Funny
talks, and he talks through the whole thing, right?
Yes,
Rocket Man,
yeah,
Rocket
no.
Man.
Rocket Man.
That's the thing.
Yes.
Burning up your
Speed
feet
singing.
up.
Man, I'm gonna look for this
Alone.
stuff like tonight.
Well,
There's
you
some
know
great
what?
stuff.
yeah.
It's called Fear of Pop.
On YouTube. Look for it on YouTube where he's at the 1978 science fiction convention and it's live. He's singing this.
And while
Find
you're at it, you
it's
also
on
got to
YouTube.
look up the stuff.
This is fun stuff. Yeah. But Bill Shatner's he's a good performer. He's a classically trained Shakespearean actor from Canada, from Montreal. You know.
Here's the thing,
Yeah,
though. You
yeah.
also got to look up the stuff Leonard Nimoy did musically too, because
But yeah,
he,
really.
I mean, everyone knows the Bilbo Baggins song,
Yes.
but he had done some
Yep.
serious songs too, like covers of
He was a
"I
serious
Want the
actor. He
Line."
Dude, he replaced
Gentle
the
on My
stars on Mission Impossible, like season 4. He was like, he came on as the new star.
And a quick,
No,
Mission
that was
Impossible
good.
was a huge TV
Quick-
show.
quick throwback to what we were talking about before. Leonard Nimoy releases his album,
Mm-hmm.
and people go, "What are you doing? What are you doing? You're gonna end your career." I mean, but the
He was
chutzpah,
heavy on
the
Phil-
chutzpah to be
Phil-
able. He's a
Phil on
creative
the Roof.
mind. He's a creative mind back then. But I'm just saying, that's not how Hollywood worked back then. You reach out a little too far, you're done.
Elvis
So
was
yes,
making movies all the
yes,
time.
super.
It was Hollywood.
Well,
Hollywood.
that wasn't his choice, though. He got pushed into that. We all know that story. But I'm just saying, for
Wonderful.
Leonard Nimoy to say that, and even William Shatner to do that back then, yes, culturally on point. Popularity, though, I mean, you know what I mean? We didn't really have political things, but like a lot, like Johnny Carson would have Leonard Nimoy on. Here's his album. He goes, yeah, no, we might not want to have that guy on anymore.
Well, one of the most famous ones from the late night talk show was Tom Schneider's tomorrow. I think wasn't it tomorrow? Was Tonight's Show and then tomorrow. I can't remember
Close
what he
enough.
called it. Yeah, and he had
Yeah.
on the show Jimmy Doohan, I think Leonard Nimoy and Harlan Ellison with this big backdrop of an Enterprise, but it had NCC 1999 on it. I think they painted on it, and yeah, there was so he had all of them on there. I can't remember. It was like the 10th anniversary of Star Trek or what they were talking about, but I think you can actually find that still also on the YouTube. Just look up, Tom Schneider, Star Trek. It's fascinating, especially when you have Harlan Ellison being the cur that he was.
And of course, talking about Star Trek actors that do music, we can't forget about the dearly departed Nichelle Nichols, who had the most beautiful voice ever.
Yeah. And also Grace Lee Whitney. She
Very
was
true.
a singer too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
even Brent Spiner made an album of singing.
Yeah, Old Yellow Eyes. I think he did 2 of them because he grew up with the music of Frank Sinatra. So that was his way of listening, doing something back, was doing like a, Frank Sinatra-esque type of album. And he had, I know he had Patrick Stewart on the album. I can't remember who else he had from Star Trek on there.
I think he had the entire male cast of TNG. At least the bridge crew, that is.
I think
Y'all are talking about music. I just wanted to ask, because when I've seen, I don't know the actor's name, but the gentleman that plays Cisco, when I see interviews with that guy, does he take jazz a little too seriously? When I see him on DS9, I was like, is this dude just pulling his S together that much? And he's this whole other dude? Because when I see him in interviews, I'm just blown away.
Well, that's how some of the production assistants said you had to kind of speak to him, and you had to speak to him in that tempo. Because that's where his mind was.
He's got a great cadence. He's a good actor. He was on Spencer for Hire, which was this ABC detective show. He was the muscle.
He's very much like a Jeff Goldblum kind of personality. Just very, very his way, his certain way about it. And it's like, wow, this guy is...
Oh.
When I see him as Cisco, I'm just so impressed. Yes. Oh, and yes, any acting gig that guy did, I was just like, wow, dude, this guy's amazing.
But
when I would see him in interviews, it's just so different.
It's all set up in the pilot. He has this antagonistic relationship with Jean-Luc Picard. I lost you lost your wife at where? At Wolf 359. Just like, wow. Sucks all the air out of the room.
And isn't it, it's not just the battle, but like you actually destroyed the vessel my wife was on. Personal, it's a personal thing.
Yeah, it was a personal thing. That was kind of taking a break off of the no conflict rule that Roddenberry came up with in Next Generation. Because you had that animosity towards Picard, and you can't blame Cisco for that. I mean, he's looking at the man, and can he even trust this man? How much of the Borg is still in him? But he also caused the death of my wife, the captain of my ship that I was on, and I barely got out with my son.
And I did enjoy that scene. That is a memorable scene for me because Picard doesn't know at first, and when Cisco reveals that, Picard changes, and you see it.
Yep.
And it's not, he won't apologize for it because this isn't the place. And that guy don't want to hear that from you, for sure. He don't want to hear, I'm sorry.
Come. Commander, yes, please, come in. Welcome to Bajor. It's been a long time, Captain. We met before. Yes, sir. We met in battle. I was on the Saratoga at Wolf 359.
He was smiling when he got up, and then just that. Oh God, you had to remind me of that.
You keep my wife's name out your mouth.
Pathos. That's pathos. He nails
from
it.
the events.
But yeah, I mean, you talk about an intense moment. There it is.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's intense.
But I mean,
right away from the beginning of the show.
And a decent actor, because you actually see his demeanor change. You see his stance change. You see the way he's like, oh, I need to talk to this gentleman differently, not this officer. You know, because he's basically, Picard's doing what most people don't do. He's like, I'm taking accountability as much as I can for what I've done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why
it's time
he's
to start talking.
Yeah. Wonderful show.
Not officer to, yeah.
Great storytelling.
And
Before
Mike,
all changes.
Yeah. And before Mike takes us into the world of the motion picture, I know he wants to talk about that part. I just want to.
I want to talk about all the movies.
Yeah, right.
Especially
well,
five.
that's what I mean. The motion picture, and that's where I wanted to bring up one point about this, and what's great because especially hearing, Padawannabe and Eric down there, Crit, Cash, and the fact that I grew up on the original series pretty much. Then, of course, the movies came around, which gave it a new, fresh jolt of life. But still, that was still for, you still had that older fan base out there that was enjoying it because a lot of the kids were still a bit young. Let's just be about it. When Next Generation came around, it did what Star Trek needs now. I mean, real Star Trek, Star Wars, all this. Something new to grab the kids' imagination. And obviously it grabbed people like Cash and grabbed Grit and it grabbed Eric and it grabbed DJ. And then, of course, it kept it alive for, how many other series after that until 2005. But it was able to, without forcing it, bring new people in, the new fresh blood. And I'm sad to say we're not seeing that right now. Because we don't have Star Trek. We don't have Star Trek.
The nicest thing I'll say about new Star Trek, I think that the new Christine Chapel, she's wicked hot, and especially in that white outfit. I love it. All
she's
day.
wicked hot.
We'll do research on that later. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah, I love.
Or
we'll like her.
Don't you love
or
it?
Alice Eve as Carol Marcus. I don't.
Don't you love it when characters yell at each other to go in the corner, and so you go know your corner?
I haven't watched the damn frame.
Hey, Chris,
I don't
Chris,
even
go
know.
in the corner right now. You in the corner. Swim over right now.
All I saw was a short clip of that musical episode, and that's all I know.
That's all you need. But the thing is that's what was great about Next Generation, because it was still doing the same premise of what Star Trek is about, and it glommed a new generation, literally the next generation glommed onto it and kept that show going and being alive. And the reason why, you kept the show to what it was about.
Yeah. And I'd like to offer a counterpoint to what the current execs have said about kids not being drawn to Star Trek at a young age. I was drawn to Star Trek at a young age. I was 7 years old when I saw Tomorrow Is Yesterday.
Exactly.
But we had 8-bit
at
video
the same
games,
time, there was something else going on. And when I heard a reference,
Lassie, what have you done now? Rekgar, help me see if there's anything that can be done with Optimus. I'm a doctor, not a forklift. His engines, they cannot take the plane. Rekgar, any hope that Junkions can repair him? He's dead, Jimmy.
yes, right. Because I'd already seen Star Trek. I knew these references.
Yes.
It's like Scotty, Bones. That's the kind of impact Star Trek makes.
Yes.
When you hear
cultural
references. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
References from completely other IPs.
We shared something, and
This was something.
sharing to understand.
This was something I really enjoyed. I don't know if PlayStation did it, but when you would play Xbox, their achievements often were named after some old movie reference. Like, it's not a flesh wound kind of stuff. And I loved seeing that cultural involvement. It's like, I get that reference, Captain America. You know, I mean, so it's just
Flying
fun
monkey.
to see
Well,
that. Yes, exactly.
Well, I mean, when you had that between the series and the movies, you had stuff out there like I Grok Spock taking off a Highline Strange New Worlds, using that line, or it was just insane. You had a lot of fan publications that were good that were coming out because people were wanting to keep this alive. It was a little too early for fan films. Didn't necessarily mean that people didn't try. But as it went about, they were wearing costumes. They were grabbing onto Franz Joseph's technical manual and just devouring it in the blueprints when they came out. And why was the Enterprise a certain way? This and that. This was fans were hungry, and the flames were still alive. And it was only natural that Star Trek would come back. And Star Trek: The Motion Picture, out of all the films, is probably the most Star Trek movie out there. One reason why is, let's be brutally honest, it stole from The Changeling and expanded it to about 2 hours.
Okay.
With that probe for the creator, Jackson Roy Kirk. But still, the thing is, it was still the most Star Trek film. As Eric said, the only time they fired a weapon from the Enterprise was to blow up a meteor that was in the wormhole. It was the Klingons that were that were being stupid idiots and shooting photon torpedoes into a cloud. Hey, there's a cloud. Let's shoot it.
What is it? Shoot it first. Let's see. Okay, so I got a random question, because this comes up so much in fandom as far as schematic-y stuff. So when do we actually find out about Jeffrey's tubes?
I think the first time we see them is in The Naked Time.
Ooh, good call.
Okay, for a guy that doesn't know titles, what series is
that?
So
that's in the original series.
Original series? Okay.
And
Jeffries
that's
was
the
one of the
one where they
designers
basically
of
all
the-
act drunk.
Jeffries was one of the guys who drew like the original Enterprise or something back in the 60s. So they named the tubes that an engineer would crawl through to get to the electrical, the internals. It's just the crawl space. It's like it's Bruce Willis and Die Hard. Those are Jeffries tubes.
It works so much better than Krychek tubes.
Would y'all hold on, DJ, bring up that picture of Scotty again.
I was just curious.
Would y'all believe me if I told you I can hear that picture?
I would totally believe
I
that.
can hear that picture.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now once I see a movie, if I read a novel that has those characters, I hear that guy.
Yeah.
Like when Tom Hanks did the first Da Vinci Code, and I read that one and a few other books that character is in, all I hear is Tom Hanks in my head. All I hear is Mark Hamill when I hear EU. That's all I hear. I hear their voices saying the lines.
Good. I hear, "I'll take you home again, Kathleen."
I hear that.
So when it comes to the motion pictures, we're talking Star Trek 1 through 6. We're talking Generations, First Contact, Insurrection, Nemesis, and yes, go ahead and give your take on the J.J. Abrams films. But when we're talking about all the
what was that?
That's inappropriate.
What the heck was that? DJ, what are you doing,
pretending?
man?
That's me making a mock fart on my microphone to give my opinion of the J.J. Jar Jar Abrams films.
But if you,
random, dude.
I tried to like 2009. I really tried to like those movies. I did. I gave it the best effort I had as a Star Trek fan. I was so into it. I was so interested. And I mean, it's great because 2009 I saw about 20 times. I had it on my iPhone as the digital copy. I would watch it in my spare time. I love the music. Now, coming into Darkness, I saw it 3 times in 3D because I wanted to experience this. But what a shitty movie. And then come to Beyond, I saw once, and I was like, never again. And it's just like, I gave it my best effort as a Star Trek fan. I wanted to like those movies so bad.
Gorlock like
Okay.
Phil.
Does the dirt bike take you out? Or are you
Yes.
gone way before that?
And the use of the same Beastie Boys song. They should have used a different Beastie Boys song.
Yeah,
And
they were.
they reused the first song from.
That's what Hollywood does. Is whatever they can use, they're going to
That
use
was
the
just
crap out of it.
Stupid. I
Yeah,
mean,
I get you.
but
I get you.
and then the Scavenger Girl was a ripoff of Ray. Being
She
the
was-
Scavenger Girl.
She was pretty though.
She's
I
a
like
pretty
the
actress.
accent.
Which one?
She's
Scavenger
also in the Tom Cruise Mummy movie. That movie was horrible too, but she was hot. so
God, I don't remember
I
her
can't
name.
complain. I can't.
Or Idris Elba's name in that movie. I want to block it out.
Yeah, he deserved better. You have someone like
Awful.
Idris Elba.
It's Idris
Elba,
Elba. You
he
put him
deserves
on
better.
But let's look at it from his perspective. He got to be in a Star Trek movie. He's super stoked. He got to be in a Star Trek movie. He's super stoked. He got to be an alien, and he got to have his own face on camera. That's awesome. Because some people are like, "Oh, I was an alien." Oh, you were? Which one?
I hated McCoy in
Right.
that movie. I love Carl Urban, but that was not McCoy. I didn't feel it. He's not an action hero.
So,
real quick, guys, Paul's gotta go.
Yep.
So,
Oh,
Paul,
Paul does? Okay.
please, by all
All right.
means,
So
promote yourself.
Okay, so for those that aren't familiar, you can find me at the YouTube channel Fandomology. Yes, we were once known as the Star Wars guys. Baron was kind enough to let me have back the Fandomology name. All I had to do was basically, well, Baron can tell you what those terms were. But anyways, as far as what's coming up, you can see down here in my little subtitle of my name that I'm currently working on bringing back a new version of Tuesday Night Trek that's pretty much going to mostly be centered around Star Trek Online because I missed that game. I want to go back to it. And Crit and I just finished watching The Godfather last night. So we're going
Holy
to...
boy, it was the Godfather.
He finally did. He finally did. Yeah.
So we're
Leave
gonna,
the gun.
so
Take
we're
the
gonna,
cannoli.
we're gonna do a review
Question,
stream on
did
that
Kirk,
Sunday
did
evening.
Kirk give you one of them heaters?
And
One
aside
of them
from
fancy
that,
heaters.
and aside from that, just a whole bunch of other gaming streams coming down the pipeline soon. Once I get back from vacation, I'm gonna start Dark Souls. I'm also gonna start Fallout 4. So a lot of good stuff.
Paul, are you on YouTube?
I am, yes.
Could you
I am
drop
putting
your
this
link
link
in the
in the
chat?
chat
I would
right
love
now.
I would love to subscribe to you.
Absolutely. We're
It's in
currently
the chat
And
right
everyone
now.
out there in TV land, subscribe to Paul right now. He sold me right now with his spiel. I want to let you know that. There
Thank
you
you,
go.
man. I'm honored.
Hey, it's cool.
We
We grow
should
together.
travel to-
Really.
Yes,
We should travel together in STO.
absolutely.
I've been kind of missing it too.
Well, like I said, it's
Well-
gonna be Tuesday, probably about 9:30, because that's kind of been my default time. So,
That's cool.
so we'll see what happens.
Paul, you're halfway there too.
And Paul, real quick,
Yeah.
playing SDO, is it going to be something like this?
He said, "Today is a good day to die."
Of course.
If Phil McCracken has his way, it will be.
Or is
Yeah.
Paul more of a stealth guy?
Was Phil McCracken in Slapshot Gowron?
All
had
right.
the same
Well,
eyes.
anyways,
I'll give you the Remember salute.
yep. See you guys later. And again, as always, Mike, thanks for having me on.
Not a problem, brother. Thank you for coming on.
No problem.
Rommel and Ale.
Later.
Probably no. I only carry it for medicinal purposes.
What's next? Klingon aphrodisiac.
So, I guess I can do my thoughts on the JJ films.
Go ahead, Chris.
Is that where we are now?
Smash
I thought
it.
we were
Yeah.
gonna...
Well,
We're talking about all
why
the movies
not?
right now.
Okay.
It's better than talking about the friggin' CBS All Access. It's P plus
Oh
shows.
boy!
I mean,
very
there's
exciting.
something.
The-
I mean, it's one level of shit above.
I don't consider the JJ stuff shit. Well, maybe Into Darkness, but I beyond, other than the woke stuff with like well, trying
Was
to
there woke
think.
stuff in that movie?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
well,
made
George Takei was gay and married with an adopted daughter.
Oh, I
yeah,
thought
they
that
made
was
Sulu
he?
gay.
I
Yes, yes.
I don't
No, that
remember
was-
that.
That was the only
That was-
thing I really had a issue with that
I
movie.
thought that was just a reference to George Takei.
It
And they kept
was.
his
No.
daughter,
Oh,
who was the
yeah.
pilot of the Bee, which I thought was
Right, but
interesting
you want-
too.
Yeah. What you want to know
But-
something? George
Sure.
Takei didn't like that. Of all the time, he goes out to shooting his mouth left and right. He sat back and said, "No, Sulu is not gay. I'm gay. Sulu's not gay."
Oh yeah,
So
I
he was
do
actually
think I
not
remember
happy with
something.
that.
I forgot
Yeah.
about that
Yeah.
and Beyond.
But I don't really hate that movie. I really enjoy 09. And I think here's the thing. I enjoy the JJ movies. They're not Trek, but they are.
No.
Listen, that's kind of what people mistake them as. They're not trying to be Trek. They're trying to be action films. And in fact, they are a different universe. They established that in the movie with old Spock. And so I can fathom that stuff more than them trying to argue that Picard season 3 is connected to TNG. With all these characters act so differently. You got Riker telling Picard to go in the corner, and then you got shotgun phasers, and then you got characters like Ensign Rowe dying, and it's like I can't do it.
There's a silver lining.
I'm gonna.
I'd rather
lose my
watch
mind.
J.J. Abrams. I'd rather watch the movies
yeah,
than
I
sit
would.
through.
Yes.
I rather.
I
It's
agree
not
with
like
that.
it's not like you want your tail nose.
Kirk
I
wakes
would
up
say
between feline kittens in Starfleet Academy. That is funny.
so. It's like J.J. Abrams stuff. The movies they may be mediocre, but they're like toenail clippers. Whereas you watch the new Trek, it's like their toenails are just being pulled off your.
Oh,
That's one way to put it.
Well,
so bad.
Well, that's what I sat back and said. If you want a popcorn film that might be good, the Abrams versus Kelvin universe Star Trek is your thing. But you're not going to be getting Star Trek. They're going to make some piss poor attempts to do member berries in there. See, he was eating the apple like he did in the Genesis cave. Look, like he's eating it, and he's doing the Kobayashi Maru. Ooh, look. See. But in all reality, it's not Star Trek.
Those movies, they don't mean. I would love. I know my brother likes those films, and I don't mind those films. But even when you watch Beyond, you're like, "Oh, I like this." And then, do you remember it? No, it's not the same. It's not the same as Star Trek 4, where you can think about that and like so many great lines. Hello, computer.
Yeah,
things like that. It was great.
Well, yeah.
Very good.
Hello, dumbass on you.
Hello, computer. Yep.
Yeah.
Double
Up ya
dumbass.
shaft.
Hey, maybe we can ask that guy who's talking to it. What the hell?
I do think
This is very good.
I do think, unfortunately, the JJ stuff was a hint, a foreshadow of what would.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this is a Star
It
Trek.
was because
treatment.
Kirk
I
was
didn't
involved
mind.
in it.
I didn't mind Abrams' Star Wars, the first one, the first Star Wars film, but but it was a foreshadow of how he would just rehash plot threads, and that's kind of his shtick. He loves.
That's a good point. If Ryan Johnson didn't interrupt that bullshit, we would have gotten the Star Trek stuff.
Yeah,
seriously.
Yeah, I mean, when it's coming to anything like Star Wars or Star Trek, it should probably just be the same person for the few films. You change it, and then there's too many cooks in the kitchen.
I think
it becomes a problem, or it can.
If Abrams was running that whole series, I think they would have been a little better received. But even then, they would have not been as the Star Trek stuff. I don't hate the movies. I just don't. I'm kind of mid with. Although I kind of enjoy watching 09 here and there, but I can't say the same for the other.
Let me ask then, like, what is your favorite original cast movie? I know
it
mine.
would be Rafa Khan.
Is that for everybody?
Yeah, for everybody. I mean, like, yeah.
Oh, dude, it's
Wrath of Khan.
it's got to be Wrath of Khan, but man, Star
Wrath
Trek
of Khan.
4 and even
You don't have to enter Wrath of Khan. I mean, then what's your second favorite then? How's that? Is
Oh,
it more fair?
dude,
Because
it's
everyone's
gotta be-
favorite is Wrath of
favorite-
Khan.
it's got to
It's
be
first
Star Trek
contact.
4. Star Trek 4,
Star Trek.
man.
It's
Star Trek 4
It
is
goes,
so good.
6 is wonderful.
6 is very good too. That's the
for
thing.
me,
like,
it goes.
3 is
well,
good. Is a good movie also. I
3
think
does
3
something
is not
wonderful.
bad.
It like, it fixes everything that 2 did. It gave Kirk a son.
Yes,
And
yes,
it
it
complicated
did.
his life. And by the end of 3, we put the toys back into the toy box unbroken. But not.
Exactly. And Crib, what are your 2 favorites?
Okay, Star Trek 2,
Nice.
Okay.
followed
Great
by
movie.
well, TOS or TNG.
Whichever are your 2
The
favorites.
original.
Like Search for Spock, the Voyage Home, the Undiscovered Country.
It would be 2, 4, and 6.
Okay. Ooh, nice.
Maybe
That's
start.
what a lot of
Wait,
people
no,
say the
no.
evens.
Maybe no. I have a soft spot for Star Trek 3.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then for the Next Generation, it's only First Contact because most of those
Yeah.
movies are really bad, especially Insurrection. I think those are worse
Yeah,
than the
you're right.
JJ movies.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Nemesis is
politics and
better than-
insurrection, but I still don't hate that movie.
Look,
Well,
have
the
you ever
problem with
seen? Go ahead.
Oh, the
I
problem
was
with
just-
Insurrection
you-
was you went to see movie an episode in movie format and stretched out
That's-
too long.
That's
This was
the
an hour-long
problem.
episode.
That you see, Baron put it out the head. That's the problem with that movie. That movie's just a big old nothing.
Well, I can't say it's memorable like First Contact. I could watch that movie 1,000
The only
times. and realize
the
it's
only
so
thing I
good.
remember from
Great film.
Insurrection was the stretchy guy and the fact that Picard fought him in like a blue screen unfinished final battle.
Stretchy
I don't
guy.
It was F. Murray Abrams.
I don't even remember
was the
that.
actor. Okay, I'll tell you. Have you ever seen Tom Hardy's audition for Nemesis? It's
No.
his table read with Patrick Stewart.
I haven't seen it.
I'm gonna go look for this on YouTube right now. It'll take a second, but you got to
Okay.
check it out because it's like that is the best part of Nemesis. It's Tom Hardy being, "Do you know what it's like? It's for me, not you," kind of thing with the gravelly Picard voice.
The problem,
And Crit,
Oh yeah.
Crit is referencing the stretchy guy, not like One Piece.
What's
The guy in Resurrection actually stretches skin over his face, so
Yeah,
he looks young.
Luffy
And,
can
and-
stretch-
and think about it. Think about it with Tom Hardy and Nemesis, and then of course he goes on to play Bane later on in Dark Knight. Picard,
And Mad
I
Max.
was bored in the dark.
No, you have to. You have to
I
talk
don't
like
hate
this.
Nemesis.
I put it in the private chat. Enjoy. It's
All right.
great.
There will be a reckoning, brother.
I don't hate it, Nemesis, as other people. I understood what that movie
You
was
can-
trying to do. It was kind of just, I think people don't like it because it's kind of just a downer. Plus, the guy who directed the movie didn't care for Star Trek, so they just got a studio hire.
Yeah, that was
so-
a big problem.
Yeah,
and the
I
first
will. I
after-
will never forget. Oh, you first.
Well, after Tom Hardy, of course, he got that role. Of course, you can see him on the scimitar, going, "That's bait," just like he did in Mad Max. That's bait.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But Tom Hardy was like 22. That was like one of his first major
true.
motion
Yeah.
pictures. And
That's
then
true.
he became Tom Hardy after this. So you see
Right.
everything about Tom Hardy in this table read. It's just like, yeah, it's in his body language. It's in the timbre of his voice, aping Patrick Stewart. It's magnificent. 2 British actors, an old and the young. Dude, love this shit.
I will never forget in the scene in Nemesis when Picard shows you his academy photo and he's bald. And that's like in the movie
Yeah.
Austin Powers when you see young Dr. Evil and he's a kid in school and he's bald. And I'm
That's
like, he's
cute.
not supposed to be bald.
Yeah,
He has
I was
hair.
gonna say in Tapestry he had hair.
Mhm. Yep.
There we go. Continuity
Yep.
police stuff. I love
Big
it.
problem. Yeah.
You know, and
That was horrible.
And you would get, if you mailed that into Marvel Comics in the 80s, Stan Lee would send you an envelope full of nothing, and he called it a no prize. And he acknowledged you. Yes, you got a continuity error. Here you go, kid. This is real. This is not made up.
Wow, that's kind of funny.
It is funny.
Cool.
So Barrett.
Oh yeah,
your two favorite Star Trek movies.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah. I mean, keeping it within the first 6, 2 and 4 definitely. 6 is definitely in there as well. Star Trek 3 is. I think those were all good movies. I mean, I have fun watching Star Trek 5. It's like one of those. Let's just sit back and just poor Shatner.
Well, there's a nice thing about Bones in there, at least, So
right.
Yeah,
There's
directed by
There's
Shatner.
Yeah, there are some gems in there, but unfortunately, wasn't able to follow through with.
I mean, one of the gems. I'll go ahead and bring it up. I just got to make sure I have the clips in the right order. Heck, this is one of our favorites. Oh yeah, I've got that.
I don't want my pain taken away. I need my pain.
Yes, it's a good line. He nails it.
And then we've got this too, real quick. I've got 2 more clips I want to play related to Star Trek 5.
It's a song, you green-blooded Vulcan. You sing it. The words aren't important. What's important is that you have a good time singing it.
You green-blooded inhuman.
Like he's actually drunk.
Excuse me, I'd just like to ask a question. What does God need with a starship?
What does God need with a starship?
If an emperor needs a starship, God needs a starship.
Oh man, it's unsung.
He's got to hold all his followers. That has nothing to do about him.
See,
the odd numbers are the bastard children of the movies.
Yeah, that's basically what a lot of us Star Trek fans said. That even though I do hold Star Trek 3, higher than most of the other odd ones out there.
Yeah.
But the important thing is we have to remember, if it wasn't for Star Trek 2, more so than Star Trek 1, if it wasn't for Star Trek 2, we would not have had Next Generation, because that was the one that really fired the blood and renewed Star Trek fandom. People wanting more Star Trek. Especially with the fact that when they thought that this film was the last movie, they were kind of making it known. It's like, okay, we're going to have one last shot, kind of an apology for Star Trek: The Motion Picture for all of you that just, you got tired of looking at clouds.
Baron,
that was
Baron. What was Baron? Next Generation premiered in '87.
Yeah,
1987. In fact, it was on my birthday, September 28th, 1987. I was 19 years old. And I actually saw that a couple of days before that, because there were pirated capes already going around.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so before it was even aired, we saw it because
that scene was tiny.
Up with the satellite. Yeah.
Okay, and just so
signals and satellite, and then people that had those big dishes were able to get it. They record it and they pass them around.
And just so everybody can get context on this, he said he was his age. How close were you graduated yet? Or how close to graduation were you?
I was graduated.
You were graduated.
I graduated in spring of '87. Yes.
So in '87, I was in junior high. I would have looked at Baron having graduated high school and being college age. Wow, that dude's cool. That guy's cool.
He listens to
Finally, somebody gets it.
You listen to Rush and play D&D, don't you?
But the thing is, Star Trek 2 is the thing that really brought that to life. I mean, you usually have heard everyone going about, Spock's going to die? Spock's dying in the film? I mean, that really was great press for it. People flocked to see it. People cried when they saw it, and it inspired that, hey, we can do another movie, and we can do another movie, and we can do a new series. So it's basically, every 2 years, Star Trek 2 in 1982, Star Trek 4 and Star Trek 3 in 1984, Star Trek 4 in 1986, and then in 87, the new series.
And
Boom.
y'all, this is in
What a time to be alive.
This is in a time when they weren't making movies thinking they could make another one. They were like, oh my God, it did so good. And then they get the green light to do a new one. Not, oh, we're going to green light you for 3 right off the bat. They had to earn every movie they got.
Well, Star Trek 5 almost didn't get made. It was like 3 years. It took 3 years from 4 to 5, and it performed so poorly. Everyone thought this is it. Star Trek in the movie original series cast is dead. And Hart Bennett was making it known that he was wanting to do it. He was wanting to do a Starfleet Academy series movie.
Some could argue that maybe Star Trek 5 shouldn't have been made.
It's very underrated.
Just saying,
William Shatner directed
it's a fandom. It's a fandom.
It's a love letter to itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because one of the great moments of Star Trek 5 is when Kirk says, I knew I wouldn't die because you guys would be there.
He'll be there. And which is ironic because he dies under a bridge and not on a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
With Picard. Later on. And that's right. I mean, seriously.
What's important about that movie, and this is my takeaway that I've always had about the movie, is that it's about the brotherhood between Kirk, Spock, and McCoy.
I like that. Yeah.
Kirk mentions his brother, and he doesn't mention his brother Sam. He mentions Spock. I got my brother back. And he meant Spock, not Sam, his brother. Sam and Kirk, right? Not George is his father.
George.
George was his father. Sam was his brother.
Sam was on the planet with the viruses that were flying around in TOS, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he died. Yeah.
Operation.
With Kirk saying, I got my brother back,
Yep,
meaning
it was.
Spock wasn't just his friend, he was his brother.
Yes.
And see, even with something like Star Trek 3, where Kirk sees his son die, like it meant something. And it's just...
Well, he didn't see it. He heard him die because it was...
Was it hurry him? All right, I'm trying to... Okay.
He heard him, yes.
I had... Okay.
And Savick, and he heard the struggle, and...
I was trying to remember if he saw it or only heard it. Okay, he just heard it.
But there's a good payoff after he's heard it, and he's down there on the Genesis planet.
There we go.
Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd. Well, yeah, that was powerful. It's like, you Klingon bastard. You killed my son. You Klingon bastard.
I'll bring up that clip.
My son. Yeah. And what's great about it, he's backing up, and he misses the chair. And that wasn't planned. But you know what? Believable. It's like
good actors acting.
And the Klingons, they're not just one-dimensional either. They're so much more than just, they're all evil and stuff. No, some of them actually care about Starfleet, as we saw with Worf. And that's why when you look at some of New Trek, you're just like, well, why aren't these things important anymore? But they're not. They don't care. But going back to all that, they cared about that they have a religion and they can be violent, but then other Klingons don't have to be violent because, character building. I know it's scary.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that goes right back into the Star Trek EU. There was a Klingon in Starfleet long before Worf, and that was in the DC run of comics. And he was actually a more peaceful-minded, kind of slow-witted Klingon. And basically, they got rid of him. He went over to Starfleet, became an officer on the Enterprise, and even had a relationship. And I think he even got married to a Starfleet woman on board the other. It's been so long since I read it. But I mean, they were even taking chances like that back in the day where, there was differences between the Klingons and how they view people. And, where this guy would have gotten killed, he was in Starfleet. Boom. He even had a hoarder on the ship.
And because you're in space, of course you're going to run into different species and different races. I mean, you've got the Romulans are interesting, the Klingons, the Ferengi. Just it's crazy.
No, they weren't interested in the beginning, that's for sure.
No,
when we
maybe
first saw
not.
the Ferengi, it was like a laugh.
No, when you saw
a
the
minute.
Ferengi, yeah, you did laugh. Yeah, that.
Let's go ahead and turn on the captions of this.
Armin Sherman, Armin Sherman and DS9 really did a good job.
Yes.
Making them more palatable.
Well, he was really good in Buffy, also, man. I mean, the guy.
He makes the choice to save Savick.
Right.
Yes. Right.
And in the
Savick,
book, in the novelization, it's like there's Vonda McIntyre suggests that there was a relationship between Savick and David.
That scene right there, when you were in the theater and you saw that scene for the first time, we're talking opening day. That had an impact. That and the Enterprise going boom. But when you heard that knife going in, it's like you could almost feel it yourself. Or at least I could on my aspect. It's like, holy cow!
And it's an Act 2 set up to the fight of Act 3 as well.
And this is what is also still missing from current writing. These choices matter, and these sacrifices were just man. But he saved somebody, and it meant something.
Yeah.
Yes.
And look at Savick. Look at Savick, how she delivers that.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's great about Star Trek 6 is when he's recording the captain's log in his quarters. He says, "I've never trusted Klingons. I never will." And then he puts the picture of David on the dresser. I can never forget them for the death of my boy.
Right.
So,
that wasn't Memberberry. That was connecting.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That was far different than Memberberry. There was a meaning behind why David's picture was on there. And it is being referenced back to the fact that, that's why you can't trust Klingons.
I had a big problem with Star Trek Beyond because it did not have this moment. You have this new Kirk, a new moment. Where was Carol and where was baby David and Beyond? They should have been on the Enterprise with Jim. And they had it, that was like a failed story note to me. I wanted to see that. I wanted to see Jim Kirk raising baby David with Carol. I wanted to see that.
Yeah.
I felt
I would have to watch Beyond again. What happened in that movie? There was some kind of war and people were running around on
There's
some
no
planet.
mention of Carol. I mean, what happened to Carol Marcus? She was totally in the second movie.
No idea. I'm not sure.
See, and Star Trek lore itself. Now, the throw in esoteric Star Trek lore here that we have, and Carol Marcus was never Starfleet. She was never Starfleet. She was someone that Kirk, and you even hear a mention of that in
that's Kirk's high school. That's Kirk's college girlfriend, and they got he knocked her up.
There was that little mention about that blonde, and then it's like they followed through with that, and whether intentionally or not, they followed through with that aspect. Now, of course, she didn't want David to be like his father. Didn't tell him, or if Kirk did know,
Jim Kirk was many things, but he was no Boy Scout.
Right, exactly. Now, Savick, as it was designed, she's half Romulan, half Vulcan. And she herself is battling the emotion and the logic, where she has that kindred spirit with Spock. And of course, if the series was going to go on, she was going to be the new Spock of the series. Of course, things changed, obviously. The Leonard said, "Okay, I'll come back if I can direct the film." But you lose that mention. The Bird of Prey in Star Trek 3, that was a Romulan ship that Krug stole. That was all planned. I think they even had it scripted out, but they decided not to go with that. So, but they kept the name Bird of Prey. Savick got knocked up by Spock on Genesis because he went through his pond far. That's why she stayed behind in Star Trek 4. And of course, that's something that got dropped completely. But Spock has a child with Savick. But
let's not forget. In the Undiscovered Country, it was originally supposed to be Savick that betrayed the Federation and Starfleet.
Right. Really? Kim Cattrall's character was supposed to be Savick?
Right.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, but they wanted Kirstie Alley to come. Yeah, they wanted Kirstie Alley to come back, and she, I don't know, negotiation, whatever, didn't go through, and they didn't want to bring Robin Curtis back. So instead of having a new set,
I didn't know that.
They brought
That's
Kim
good to
Cattrall
know.
in and gave her a new name. Yeah, she was good.
She wasn't
Spock really
bad,
is a
though.
mind, like, you know, a force.
Yeah.
Spock does something morally objectionable. He does
Yes.
a forced mind meld on an unwilling, not someone not giving consent to a mind meld, and you know, so that's a really deep allegory, even for today,
Yes.
and a difficult conversation. Yet you're in a war situation. What he did, but oh my gosh, isn't there?
He couldn't believe that. Also, I think another Vulcan would do something like this, and it just aggravated the crap out of him. You know, that's
Well,
just
she
a
was
guess.
again another one of his proteges. This is one of his
Right,
proteges,
exactly, and he felt responsible. Right.
Not only responsible, betrayed, and this had to go around Kirk and McCoy, his two good friends. He had to get down to it and figure out how can we get these. You know, we got Kirk back. What's going on before things go down? It's like, morally objectionable, but necessary. And
and think about the setting for the undiscovered country. You know, think about what was actually going on in the real world and the allegory that they made.
It was a bit on the nose for Star Trek.
Yeah.
It was a bit. I'll say that in hindsight. Sure.
Yeah.
It was a bit on the nose.
Was Nicholas Myers. Yeah, this was Nicholas Myers going about the wall coming down in Berlin, and of course in '91, that's when the Soviet Union finally did collapse.
Okay. Yeah.
So this was all reference to that Cold War. This was a Cold War movie.
Reference, yeah.
That's what this was. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't even reference. This is a Cold War
90,
movie.
Yeah.
You could take this movie and make it a non-science fiction film, and it's still a political thriller, Cold War movie.
Straight allegory, because what happened to the Klingons? What sold the Klingons on the Federation? That's a good backstory. The entire backstory of Star Trek has been that.
And then the chameleon, shoot him, not me. Like, there's just so many good lines.
Dude,
not me, you idiot. Him.
Yep.
And then you had the other analogy because you had Praxis blow up. Well, that was Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Good call.
That was a reference to Chernobyl. I mean, there is so much rich lore that you have in the planning of these movies, because that's what they did. They actually really planned them. They thought about, does this work?
You know what, Baron? How dare you say that? Planning? What? Excuse me?
I mean, when you have, Harv Bennett, love him, hate him, be in between, because there's people that don't like Bennett. Rest his soul. But the thing is he knew nothing about Star Trek. Neither did Nicholas Myers. What did he? What did Harv Bennett do? He sat down and watched every episode of Star Trek to understand what this was about, and then he saw space and go, you know what? This would be a good story to build off of. And Nicholas Myers the same way. He didn't know anything, but boy, did he get himself immersed in the lore. He knew.
Well, why not? It's just smart to do. Is do your research. At least do enough research. Yeah.
And we don't have that today. We have
not
just a pale version. Well, it's like having a VCR tape, and it's been played so many times. There's so many lines, and it's all breaking apart. That's what we have. They just copied it so many times on a VHS tape that it's just this fuzzy image with a bunch of static lines going between it, because all they could do was copy paste, and each one was a degradation down of quality. And this is what we got today. All we got is member berries. That's all they can work off of. And then they give the wink and the nod saying, oh, see, we know Star Trek. No, you don't. Now, the one problem with Star Trek 5, you had the half-brother of Spock, right? Sybok. But D.C. Fontana, who was the one that really fleshed out the story and the life of Spock, made it known that Sarek was never married before Amanda, and Spock was the only child. So William Shatner broke that one. Yeah, William Shatner. Well, there was a lot of retcons. A lot of retcons.
Sure, but this was the most obvious one. I'm a lifelong Spock fan, and so when Sybok gets introduced, I'm like, WTF? Because we have the vocabulary for that now. So we're like, what? There's no Sybok.
Right.
What's a Sybok?
Yeah, but it
No,
made
even in
sense.
the animated series, Spock never had a brother. He had a pet,
Yeah,
but he didn't have a brother.
which was
And met
mentioned.
himself. And met himself.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and it was also mentioned. It was also mentioned he had that pet, and his mother made mention about having the quote unquote teddy bear that he grew up with. And you
Amanda.
can thank, DC Fontana. You have to give a lot of credit to for fleshing out and building Spock as a character. But the thing is, it did work though for Star Trek V. In my opinion, that was an interesting addition, and I can believe that a little bit more than DC Fontana. I'm sorry, DC, rest your soul. I just can't believe that Sarek went so many years, so many fars without planting something somewhere. If we're going to go through that 7 year itch, you might say. Interesting note though, there was a proto Cybok in one of the books. It was called Strangers from the Sky, I believe was the name of the book. And Spock, in that book, Spock had a cousin who was a blonde-haired Vulcan and was interested in trying out emotions. He was going out there and trying to embrace onto emotions because he found it fascinating on that. It also harkens back to Spock's replacement on Star Trek Phase 2, Zahn. Zahn was basically the Data of that show, and he was trying to grasp human emotion because he thought that was what made Spock a great officer in Starfleet. Not just the logic, but he still had that emotion in there, being half human. So a little Vulcan more there.
And he got melted on the transporter and motion picture.
No, that's not Cybok. That's not Zahn. That's not Zahn. No.
Oh, okay.
That was a different Vulcan. They just wrote out Zahn completely, but the actor played the Epsilon 9 station.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
But the DC Comics brought Zahn back as Savik's Ponfar partner.
Feel like we come full circle there.
Well, that's what you were saying. There's so much war. So much.
Yeah, there's so much war in current Star Trek, yet in Gene Roddenberry, even Rick Berman, all the crap that Rick Berman gets for the state of Star Trek, especially in the later years. But still, even under Rick Berman, he still tried to keep to Gene Roddenberry's vision.
Yes.
He and Ira Stephen Bear butted heads about DS9 having the war between the Federation and Dominion.
It changed the series totally. It was so jaunty and fun and whimsical when it started. Like, run along home. You couldn't get that in season 6. You know what I mean? That would be stupid if you did that.
Eric.
I think we get the one thing that's going to get you booted from this episode. That's the one thing that's going to get you booted. Yeah,
bringing up
Eric, you don't know. You don't know my disdain for Move Along Home.
Yeah,
I despise that episode of DS9.
Oh wow, that's great! I found it. I feel like I'm here.
To humor everybody, Alan Moraine, count 2, 4, Alan Moraine, and 3 more, Alan Moraine.
Yeah.
What's your least favorite episode of
you found the button, dude. You found the button, man. Doc Pop is coming out.
Like I told you guys, this isn't Pop Talk, so I won't be booting anybody. This isn't Pop Talk.
Then he'll be a Vulcan or a Klingon.
We'll shoot you down to Genesis in a photon tube while Scotty's playing Amazing Grace.
But if you want to know my favorite episode of DS9, it's AR-571. It's the one where Nog loses his foot.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's because Quark has this great line of dialogue. Says like, "You think you know these humans, but like wait till like they're like without their comforts and everything, then you'll see the real thing." And it's a really poignant moment in this overstory. He's with his uncle. He's about to lose his leg, and and it's just like really heavy moment. And
Mhm.
but what an interesting war story and this ongoing story. It got really serialized and really dependent on the Dominion War, but that was some pathos. That was some good acting, great special effects. You know,
Well, the thing is I know people want to try to say, well, that's not Trek, but the thing is even when they got into the war, it was Trek. It was them fighting to keep their humanity in the middle of this entire war. They had people that no matter how much you tried to talk to, wants to kill you. You can extend the olive branch as often as possible. They're going to cut your hand off every single time. So now you're going to have to defend yourself and try to keep your humanity. And in some ways, losing a little bit of that, like Cisco did when he came up with a little Churchill plan to get the Romulans involved with the war.
Well, not
But
only that,
that's
remember
very-
when Cisco went after Michael Eddington?
Yep. I mean, it's the fight to stay human in that one, and the exploration, because there's still exploration when you're doing it. You're going to a virgin territory once you cross that wormhole for Starfleet, that is. But it does have that dark. Yeah, it has a darker tone, but there's still light at it. There's still hope. The show still ends with hope, a mystery, but hope. And it still rings into that area. Like, the original Star Trek series flirted with War II. The Klingons and the Federation went through a 12-hour, 24-hour war in that first season. Didn't last long, obviously, because other races got involved that were godlike. Funny how that happens.
Back.
Who let that guy
Welcome
back
back.
in?
I
Phaser
did.
on
Who
stun.
let the Pauls in? Woo! But
Yeah.
this was a case of just like Star Trek 2. Star Trek 2 is very much a Star Trek story. People want to sit back and say, well, they're not exploring blah, blah, blah. But no, you are exploring something. This is the human condition. This is Kirk getting older, feeling useless. He's Captain Dunsley. That's what he feels like.
Just turned 50. That was about his 50th birthday party. Bones brings him some Romulan ale and some vintage eyeglasses because he's allergic to Red Lex 5.
The retinox.
Yes. Thank
you. Here you have Kirk, fighting that one. He's being told, that was the biggest mistake, was to take the Admiral. That even told by Spock itself. It's like, respectfully, of course. But the whole thing is, this was a journey of a man who's looking at his sunset. Obviously, it wasn't, because he even says at the end there, he feels young. How do you feel? Young. Even in the midst of his best friend dying, his ship getting his guts kicked apart, Scotty losing his nephew, all across the board. Well, of course, discovering his son. At the end of this journey, this Odyssey-like journey, he gets it. It's like, I feel young. Why am I pounding myself down? This is it. I'm alive. And that's Star Trek as well. The human adventure is beginning. That's what they said in Star Trek: The Motion Picture. So as long as you have that human adventure, well, you're doing good. What happened to you, man?
Oh,
you pressed the wrong button. He shot himself down the Genesis.
He put on the red shirt instead of the blue shirt.
Yeah,
Give me Genesis.
He was in the ship, and he's like, "Wait, is that the eject button? Oh no!"
You green-blooded son of a bitch! It's for revenge for all your arguments.
What do you think of that story note about Khan's infant son walking towards the Genesis device? You know what I'm talking about? It's an edited scene. It's a still. You've seen that?
I've never heard about that.
It's like there was a story note where like Khan had an infant son aboard Reliant when Genesis was self-destructing, and that was that, and it got cut. It's out there in the internet. I'll go look for it. I'll drop it in the chat.
There was a lot of things with Star Trek 2, how they were going to do it, where they were going, the changes of the story. Originally, there was going to be this big battle between Kirk and Khan and Khan was going to be getting into his mind because he's supposed to have, empathetic or whatever abilities, which was all cut. And of course, Star Trek II, Kirk and Khan never met face to face, and that even includes the actors.
Yeah, and that's a real shame that they never had an actual scene together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was down to like what, scheduling issues or something.
No, it just didn't. It was scheduling, but that's how they felt. They wanted to keep it like a submarine battle, much like Balance of Terror. This was a submarine battle type story. Of course, bringing in Moby Dick as a big inspiration as well with the obsession. So, and you even got most of that when they went into the Mitara Nebula. That was where they really got that sense. You can even almost hear those pings as they're going through in the Mitara Nebula, blind, trying to hunt each other
with
and
no
invade
shields.
each other. No shields, no nothing. Everything's raw, man. Everything's raw. Bite the pillow.
We'll raise them. I can't. I love that scene, man. Full power.
Sauce for the goose, Mr. Stavick.
Fire.
And Mr. Dread brings up a good one too. Run silent, run deep.
Run silent, run deep. Yeah, that's what I was trying to remember. And that's the type of feel that they wanted, with that one. And of course, again, with Balance of Terror, because that was another submarine hunt story in space. And it helps with the tension. Actually, I think if you had Kirk and Khan meet, I think that would have ruined it. I think it would have ruined it as much as I'd love to have seen those two together. They needed to be apart and be like playing chess pieces.
It's aged well. It could be an allegory for like social media today. And it's 40 years old. It's so funny.
Well, that's just it.
I hate you.
All Star Trek is. All Star Trek is. Honestly, anyone who wants to sit back and say the concepts that they had for the 60s series don't pertain no more are idiots.
Yeah, of course.
Because the human condition has remained the same. We've advanced technologically, and a lot of these issues moved from one to another group or another thing. But the thing is, right down to the core, there's an identifier.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's racial, what his half black, whether one's white, or how Spock was treated, especially in Balance of Terror, because the Romulan War, and now the Romulans look like Spock. How do we know? Those issues. You had those same issues for after 9/11. Well, they're Muslim. How do we know? That type of thing. The concepts that were given to us with Star Trek and even the movies, even Star Trek V, what the hell, throw that in there, pertain today as much as they did back then. But the people today have no concept of it because they can't think outside of the 15-year bubble that they have of knowledge and experience, and have grown up with subpar crap, and just because of that, they think they're fans. I've never seen the original. You're not a fan.
When you look at the original series or any of the series done under Gene Roddenberry, Rick Berman, Michael Piller, Jerry Taylor, and then you look at the current slate of Star Trek with Gene Roddenberry, Rick Berman and company, they gave you a point of view, but they didn't tell you as an audience member, you have to choose this side or else.
Yeah.
They said that this is the side that we're presenting for this particular group. This is the side that we're presenting for this particular group. It's up to you, the audience member, to decide if Kirk was right in this situation, Picard was right in this situation, or that alien species of the week.
I think there's one exception to that, Mike. I think there's one exception to that with Let That Be Our Last Battlefield, with how on the nose of a racism lecture that one was.
Yeah, it's still
that was a little too preachy,
relevant,
but
today.
Yeah, still relevant. I mean, and even the writing staff, this was not an echo chamber writing staff. Gene Kuhn had different ideals than Gene Roddenberry. Gene Roddenberry being an ardent atheist, Gene Kuhn being a very religious person, they went back and forth on that one, how they introduced us to Star Trek. Gene didn't want any, and of course Koeing says no. I mean, it's still going to be something out there whether you like it or not. But you take a look at the people that wrote. Richard Matheson, who did The Twilight Zone. You had Robert Bloch, of course, known for Psycho. This was his one big thing.
I will say this much: like humans, like in the 24th, humans in the Starfleet 24th century don't seem to have a sense of spirituality. I wonder where have the Jews gone, and where have the Islamic people gone, and the Zen people gone, and the Christian people in Starfleet in the Federation 24th century, and we get that sense in Bajorans, we get that sense in Klingons, but why not in humans? I'm a spiritual dude. I'm an ordained minister. And so what spirituality has never engaged me in Star Trek. I'm just thought it was until I guess the Bajorans, because they're a very spiritual people.
Yes.
Right. I mean, you had little bits and pieces. I mean, there's a chapel on board the ship. That's where, they use for a wedding. Only seen once.
Okay.
Twice, actually. There was also the funeral for Kirk in the Tholian Web.
Okay, that's right. My apologies. Ooh. You're absolutely right. Yeah, there he's right on. So you had that, but you also had with when they went to the Roman planet, and they're talking about the sun god. It's like, no, it's not S-U-N, it's S-O-N. Showing the basically repeating history with Earth, with Christianity being introduced into the Roman Empire. Roddenberry was a bit pig-headed on that one, and very narrow-minded, very myopic. It's like, I don't want to talk about any of that. Then you're not being etic. You're not looking at the concept. Look at an atheist like J. Michael Straczynski. Look how he writes about religion. And Harlan Ellison, again, another atheist, but look how he wrote about religion. Not degrading it, not destroying or mocking it, but it's like, these are intricate parts of our society. We can't ignore it. Even Arthur C. Clarke, who was an ardent humanist atheist, when he wrote 3001, there was still reference to a god. They said calling it God was Deuce. What the Deuce? Which, of course, he was suing.
Frank Poole got into trouble with his girlfriend.
Yeah. So, I mean, as that goes in 3001, it was even Arthur C. Clarke saying, there's still going to be some form of spirituality, whether you like it or not. It's how it's going to be. So, you got little pieces here and there with Star Trek, but again, like you said, not until we got to DS9 did we really get a full religion course. And that was in the form of the Bajoran, because it's so important to their society. You don't have to believe in it, but you have to understand it. And of course, who was centered around that at that time? Cisco.
It was part of their culture.
Yeah.
And Cisco
Klingons
didn't believe that he was the emissary.
That was interesting, because he was also an immigrant to that culture. I mean, he entered the wormhole. I mean, Cisco's the human.
Right.
It's just really interesting. I've always been a little disappointed with the finale. that last 5 minutes.
Yeah. Also, Tywin.
Yeah. Actually, rest your soul, the actress, who did a great job, because he hated the character. She did such a great job.
Oh man!
I have to confess, in that last episode.
Louise Fletcher and her acting. Go ahead, Bear.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk over you. Louise Fletcher, yeah.
But Louise Fletcher and her acting chops, she made the audience hate Tywin just because of how good she was at becoming that character.
Yes.
And I have to say back one thing. The last episode of DS9, I at the very end there, I'm sorry, Kosh's voice kept on going through my head. Jump! 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 He was on Zaha.
The whole Tywin thing at the end with Gul Dukat and his transition thing, that was very evil and interesting. Wow. I mean, like, what a story note. That was melodramatic. That was just like Deep Space Nine was like, that was like new Trek. I mean, It did a lot of different things. God bless you, DS.
Yeah, the show's it's a far deeper show than a lot of people want to give credit to.
Yeah.
And it's
very
still very much
soapy.
Star Trek.
Yeah.
It's very much Star Trek. It's just gone to basically what Star Trek was thought of, a space opera. It became a space operatic show, science fiction. Because off the stuff that Roddenberry grew up with, this, E. Doc Smith and the like. And obviously, Babylon 5 running at the same time doing that didn't hurt matters much either. Let's be honest.
No, and there was a friendly rivalry between Babylon 5 and DS9. Heck, in season 2, Ivanova even says we're not some deep space franchise.
Right.
That was a direct shot at
Barbs.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just as a side note, sorry, Baron, go ahead.
Go for it.
Go.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, just as a side note, I did try watching the first episode and a half of Babylon 5, and I'm finding it a bit hard to get into.
Do better. Do better. No, I'm kidding. Jokes. Did you say that one more time? Difficult or good? I think it's good.
I'm just not getting into it, honestly.
It's chewy, dude.
I respect your position because I've been trying to get into Wheel of Time, the books, and I don't know, it just doesn't click in my brain. That being said, so you did 2 episodes so far. Does that include the pilot? Okay, so here's the problem. Number one, you saw the pilot, The Gathering. You gotta pretend you didn't see that. I mean, not that you gotta pretend. Just for now, you gotta pretend until you like it. But give 2 episodes of the series after the pilot. An opportunity, and then come back to us.
Okay.
That is, that definitely. I mean, the movie, if you watch the movie, everyone agrees it's not the best. But what comes after is just space opera gold. Absolutely.
And I'll admit, the set pieces in season 1 are a little bit simpler. At first, I thought Londo and Via Koto, Flounder from Animal House, they're just some comedy routine hanging out in a kitchen that had these futuristic, light up cabinets. But anyway, I had fun with that eventually too.
I will say though, one thing that the way that one dude with the really tall forehead says Jakar, I think is pretty funny, and I get why Crit laughs at it the whole time.
Jakar.
Paul.
Londo. That's Londo.
Anonymous. Dang it, Paul. First season is always the throwaway. Try harder.
Anonymous. You've heard way hotter takes from me, and that's the one that you get upset about?
Well,
I'm joking, of course.
And and to kind of go with the flow on that one, it's first season of B5, just like the first season of the original Star Trek. I mean, you get the sets on there, and for Babylon 5, they were designed to be moved around and reused because they didn't have the space, they didn't have the time, they didn't have the effort to be able to do these new sets all the time. So let's have these rolling sets, literally. So on the same fashion of the first series of Star Trek, where they're kind of going as they're going along, Babylon 5 had that same issue. And of course, it got better as it went along. More of a budget.
And Paul, I think there's going to be a reckoning.
Yeah.
Paul, there's an episode in season 1 where they do get into the thick of religion, and of course Susan Ivanova being a not so practicing Jew at that point. But that was a cool episode. You know what I'm talking about, Baron, and probably Mike too, and whoever else saw it. So that episode has a beautiful ending, and if you get to that episode where you see the rabbi, stick it out to the end of the episode.
I really quick want to respond to what Joseph Dredd just said in the chat here. Even TNG season 1 is hard to watch. There's only one episode that you could argue is hard to watch, and it's Crit's favorite episode, Code of Honor.
Code of Honor, yeah.
What?
I like that episode.
What did you just say, DJ?
I like the way they fight on the fluorescent light tubes, and if you fall on the fluorescent light bulb, you burn your shirt. That's so cool. But other than that, it's absolutely absurd. I mean, other than that, I got nothing in favor.
Jonathan Frakes said that episode should be removed from streaming. I'm gonna be the one to say I agree with him. Yeah,
I don't like cancel stuff. It was made. Just leave it there. You just keep going
and
down
on syndication,
that path.
I would argue yes on syndication, but on streaming, I would say give it a disclaimer.
Well, what about the last outpost? What about the last outpost?
That was good.
I mean,
Anybody?
exactly.
Okay, Code
See,
of
Paul
Honor.
gets it.
Yeah, okay. You could just reimagine that in your head canon as Irish people, and you'll be fine with it. I mean, seriously. I mean, like you got to give a break
later
to
next
fiction.
generation.
I mean,
Irish people in the second season.
Well,
why
those are
not?
stereotypes.
Yes, please. My name's O'Sullivan, and I was raised in an Irish.
But they were
home.
colonists. They weren't trying to be like African aliens.
It was the 20th century. We need a line in the sand to be like better with this stuff. We need to be like, okay, that was in the 20th century.
No,
it didn't happen.
I'm like,
it didn't happen 2 years ago.
I guess we gotta say TNG came up with they were the first ones to come up with black.com with that.
It's Star Trek Wakanda. It's like it's fine.
Yeah.
Star Trek Wakanda.
You know what? Oh yeah,
It's great, man.
I like that.
I love it.
Yep.
I love fiction, man. I love
That
this
was
shit.
one of the hard ones to find on there. But you know what? The thing is no, it shouldn't be taken off of anything, and no, there shouldn't be a disclaimer.
No.
We're more intelligent and adult. Only the simpletons need to have that. If you're that simple, you don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're that weak, you don't get it. If you can't handle another view on something, even if it's horribly done, it's not for you. Go back to sucking your thumb in the corner. We know. We've talked about it for years. The discussion, debate. And even a bad episode like that has to be out there because, again, it partakes into the discussion.
That it does.
That's
That's what Star Trek has always been able to get people to do prior to the current regime, is get people to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm.
Yep. Tasha Yar and Data were the two hard ones to get. Riker was the one that was overdone, and Jonathan Frakes talked about this. Like, there was like, buy a figure and get like a free Commander Riker or whatever. They're virtually giving them away.
My mom wanted to buy Tasha Yar when it was like $7, and then right after they killed her off the show, it went up to $14. So for like decades after, she told me the story of how like she wanted to buy it, but then she was like, "I'm not spending $14." So then like, I don't know, like 10 years ago, like I'm in a comic book store in Lower Manhattan, or was it Flatbush? And I see Tasha Yar, so I go and pick one up, but then I forgot I bought one for my mom, so I ended up buying another one later. So I actually got one hanging up on a wall, and I got this one inside what I believe Eric O'Sullivan would call an acid-free board. Actually, I don't know if it's acid-free or not, to be honest. That might not be.
Well, you
What do
can
you
always
think?
buy an acid-free board at your local comic book shop tomorrow. Just get a brick of them and start replacing them in your comic books. You'll be happier. And
I'm laughing because this is this is Eric's weekday show, by the way. If you
Thank
guys
you
haven't
very
like
much.
tuned in, that's like he taught me a lot about like storage, collection, and like basically going through your short and long boxes, and if you have long boxes or short boxes, basically replacing boards that might harm your paper, for example.
They will be discolored and they might smell funny, and that's true. And so just get a new brick of boards. They're like $15 for 100, acid free, and just like switch them out. And what you're gonna also do at this time, you're gonna be like, I got a fucking funny book in my hand. I'm gonna be reading this bloody funny. Wow, look at these ads. A video game, like shit like that. It's fun. It's very nostalgic. I advise doing it.
Melly and discolored. That sounds like my feet.
And they're
I have it. I have the diecast enterprise. Is that considered diecast?
The glue.
Okay, cool.
And speaking of video
diecast,
games, that is cool. Speaking of video games, Resurgence actually looks good. I have to admit that Mike was playing. It looks like a good game. We need more stuff like Elite Force, and there's been some quality Star Trek games out there, but I think there could still be a market for.
Yes,
I don't know how Resurgence has did.
I don't know how it's done with sales figures, but remember when I was playing part 2 of Star Trek Resurgence for my live stream, and I said I was going to wrap it up, and I got so immersed into the story, I kept going.
Damn, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's it like? You're just
I
the
had to
captain of a
leave,
starship,
sadly.
and you have a crew.
You start off as this commander named Draw Rydick,
Okay.
and you go through her part of the story, how she fits into the story. Then you switch to this other character named Carter Diaz, and you go through his part of the story and how these two stories basically connect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil too much of the game for anyone who
Sounds
hasn't
like
played
Resident
it.
Evil.
But I, you know what I'll do? I'll go ahead and bring up the live stream that I did. And
Yeah. That live stream is the reason I bought the game, and then I've been OCD recording it in like super high quality in order to gather like a lot of good quality footage. That's what I've been doing because of that.
While he's doing that, I want to put this image up of my sole appearance in Star Trek.
Oh yeah.
Love it.
I once said it looked like Tasha Yar, but it doesn't. It's a comic book male.
No, it doesn't look. That's my that is from my that's from my high school picture that I gave the artist Gordon Purcell, and as a thanks for helping him out with the technical stuff and how things look and how Star Trek was. He became, of course, one of the more popular artists for the Star Trek series. He drew me into the panel, and I also have the original page as a thanks. So I like throwing this up whenever we're on a Star Trek stream because, I was in Star Trek. And I was sharing the scene with Riker. You can't see him, but it's me and Riker.
Nice.
Oh my god, that is pretty epic. That's almost as cool as the time that my dad shook Jordy's hand in the elevator and then came home and told me, "Shake my hand, son," before he washed his hands so that I could shake Jordy's hand. But no, that jokes aside, I'm just messing around, but that is really cool.
Yep. So, yeah, that's me. And
I always wanted to be in something.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's, I wish I was in a Star Wars thing, but I mean, old Star Wars, not this new stuff. But
The Star Wars?
On the bridge of the Enterprise.
He said, "Is that Star Wars?" No, there's a guy named Gator the Puppet, and he always has this like thing he does on the Saturday night puppet show where he goes,
Mr.
yeah, please."
McCracken, if you want to be assimilated by the Borg, I'm sure we could find a way to contact the Borg cube.
Maybe he'll stop bothering me about my shirt. Yo, our videos are synchronized, Mike. Our videos are almost
some familiar class ships.
That's yep.
There's an Excelsior class. You saw a Nova class and a Saber class starship.
Mm-hmm.
This looks like a movie.
It does.
It's the best Star Trek crap you're gonna get.
Yeah,
you got that. You got a pass
I would have called this crap.
By the way, there's no pilot.
This game wasn't crap. It was the best $30 I ever spent.
Crap in the sense that
security,
this is the best stuff
and that guy
you're gonna
stays in the
Walk
seat
down the corridor.
This is better
He
than
don't come
the
out.
Next Generation Sega Genesis game. I mean, I got trapped in the mines on that thing, and I never got out, and I had to put it down. That was
And
1993.
suitable substrate. Yeah, I know what you mean because I had that same game on Genesis and I got stuck in there. It's like, how did I get out of here?
Whoops.
No, I
Thank
paused
you for
it. Following over on the Twitch side.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah, man. I was like, what was that? 12 hours, or did you do like 2 sessions, Mike?
I did 2 sessions. This was the first one, I went almost 4 hours with this one because I was getting immersed in the story. Now, if we go to part 2, where I was only going to go for a couple hours, and then, well, look at this. 8.5 hours later.
Yeah. I was watching it, and it's like I had to leave to go to another stream, and it's like
I'm gonna wrap it up.
I was wrapped up in it.
8,000 hours later.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll destroy it.
because I was getting wrapped up in the story of this. It was like, wow, it's like you actually living an episode of movie Star Trek.
You is what we
And you even
Okay, this is a spoiler for anyone who hasn't played the game yet, but
Oh no!
I've often thought about that over the years.
Oh, it's
How a
him.
small difference in the encounter could have led
His
to
eyebrows are moving a little weird.
The most important thing
Captain Riker.
Don't let him push you
The rigging is a little
I
robotic.
think it's the same. I think it's like a modified version of Telltale's engine.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, probably.
gotcha.
Yeah.
I'll stand up to him. You can trust in that.
Good. But that's just
His eyebrow where it goes up like that, Mike. That's funny. It's
Well,
just-
I blame Troy
is
for that.
she?
Troy did that.
That-
You know.
that-
yeah.
Troy's no
that's
good. No, Troy's
The
no good.
cranium ridge is
What are you talking about?
specific to
Troy
a,
is the best female character in all of Star Trek.
What is she?
Oh boy, did you guys hear that again?
I heard
I told
it. I
you to
heard
throw
it.
him out the airlock. I wasn't
Eric,
joking.
just so you know, Eric, Paul's favorite episode is The Loss.
Yeah.
That is an overhated episode, and I still stand by that.
Airlock. I mean, what?
I can take care of you, Troy. Honestly, if I was there, I would have taken care of you, and you would have been just fine. Ensign Paul. Ensign Paul's here to help you.
Ensign Paul, that seems about right. Yeah.
How about
I'll be
first
there
year
for
cadet?
you.
First year cadet.
For you.
I'll rub your feet.
Gentlemen, it's getting close to the time to wind this down. So
Indeed.
before
Happy
before
birthday,
we do
Star
it,
Trek.
yeah,
Thank you.
How logical.
Can I mention something real quick?
57 years old today. Star
Ooh.
Trek.
Yep.
Wow. It was the
50
one
years
that
of
with
animated.
the salt vampire.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. It was.
You're right.
Nancy
Yep,
Catcher, that was her name?
Nancy Crater.
Yes. Thank you.
Crater.
That freaked me out. I mean, that was good special effects. It was,
Mhm. Yeah, especially for the 1960s.
yeah.
DJ's
So-
got a head replacement. What are we going to say, Paul?
So I just whoa, DJ's lost his head. But I wanted to mention that I've kind of been, since tonight was such a good conversation, I for one do not want it to end, but I understand that Mike's got to end the stream. So tell you what, we're going to immediately after this stream ends on my channel, Fandomology, we're going to be playing some Star Trek Online, and of course, everyone that's here. In fact, I'm going to do everyone a favor. Those that are not part of my Discord, I'm going to drop you guys a link to it in the private chat. And if y'all want to come hang out with me and continue talking Star Trek as I play Star Trek Online, you guys are invited too.
Cool.
Alrighty. Let me go ahead and put your channel link in there again for anybody who is not subscribed to Fandomology, Paul. But Eric, I want to thank you for joining us this evening, talking
Thank you
about
for
Star
inviting
Trek.
me. Dude, this
Not a
was
problem.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Hanging out with other
You
Trek
survived the
people and
move along
talking
home.
Trek. Jeez.
Alamarade, count to 4, Alamarade, then 3 more.
Well, as I told Cash and Barrett, I said tonight, it's not pop talk. We don't pull any of our pop talk shenanigans.
That's right.
Like
But
having the king on.
Can you at least play the You're Gone thing, because that's Star Trek related?
Well, that's not part of this port of StreamYards. I put this stream under a completely different set.
Okay.
So,
But briefly, I do want to say that I didn't actually answer a question earlier about my first impression of the animated series, and
Go
that
ahead.
came way after. And I appreciate it, Mike. Thank you. But yeah, like it came way after my first introduction of the original series. But for a long time, this was just some like weird thing that like we thought we could never obtain, and then as peer to peer and all of that stuff came into being available, more readily available. I was able to see some of it, and then in recent time, I haven't finished it yet because I had like a bad batch. I had to re-get it, so to speak. But I'm looking forward. I love that the animated series. What I've seen of it so far is quality content. It is artist proper Trek, and it's written by some of the right people and all of that. But not only that, because I didn't finish it, I still get the revelation of brand new Trek episodes, which can't happen anymore. Like one thing, like was years ago, I used to be able to stumble into an original series episode that I never saw before, or a TNG episode, and I don't think that can happen anymore. I think I've seen them all, at least once, if not more. And So this is like the only frontier of Star Trek that I have right now, where it's a frontier, and so I'm looking forward to finishing viewing that. And that is all I want to say about that.
I don't blame you, brother, because regardless of what series of Star Trek it is, whether it is the original series, whether it's the animated series, whether it's Next Gen, DS9, Voyager, Enterprise, and yes, to those of you who like the current Trek, there's going to be an episode that always sticks with you. For me, in the original series, it'll always be Tomorrow's Yesterday. That's sentimental due to that being the first episode of the original series that I actually sat down and watched it from start to finish.
But corruption began.
Yes. Well, it was a good corruption because, like I said earlier in the stream, that episode of Transformers, The Return of Optimus Prime, those references that they made in the episode, I knew those references. It wasn't like, why is Rekgar saying that? As soon as I heard Rekgar say, I'm a doctor, not a forklift, it's like, that's Dr. McCoy. Mm-hmm. His engines, they kind of take the string. Scotty, and then Dr. McCoy again. He's dead, Jim. I mean, again, that's the cultural zeitgeist of Star Trek. And I still love it. I still love Star Trek. I don't love what's happening to it with, Discovery or Picard or Lower Decks or Strange New Worlds. I couldn't even get through that first episode of Strange New Worlds, but I still love the Star Trek that I grew up with.
Mm-hmm. Right. And thank God for that game.
Yeah, that game. I mean, you guys didn't see it, but at one point near the end of that game, I had a tear coming down my face because it reminded me of such good Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to say, Eric, once again, thank you for coming on, and please, at this time, take the moment to promote yourself.
Yeah, Eric.
Hi, everyone.
Just don't say move along home.
Hey.
Hi,
Eric. I'm Eric O'Sullivan, a.k.a. Reverend Sully, ordained on the internet. I have a small but growing internet channel where I talk about comic books daily, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern daily. That's right. We spend a couple of minutes taking our minds off our minds and talking about our hobby, comic books, monthly floppies, old stuff. I am rebagging, reboarding, and reboxing my entire collection, and I need supplies. And so it's a journey to the local comic book shop and each other, talking about comic books and reminding ourselves why we should be still buying comic books. Thank you for doing that and coming along with us. Thank you very much for having me, Mike. And everyone in the chat, everyone in the panel, this is a great way to celebrate Star Trek's birthday. Thank you, Lucille Ball, and thank you, everyone in the panel. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you.
Live long and
it's an
prosper.
honor. It is an honor to be on a stream with Eric.
This is great.
Absolutely, man.
This is fun.
I mean, I'm also honored to be here with Baron and, you, Paul, and Padawannabe, and especially Crit. I love his uniform.
Hey, Eric, are you on Discord by chance?
No, I'm only on Twitter and YouTube. I'm a boomer.
Okay.
I have no. I don't want. I just don't want to be distracted by that stuff. I got two things.
You ain't kidding.
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, I got a day job and I got responsibilities, and I'm like,
I'll tell you what, Eric.
I don't need TikTok. I don't Snapchat. I got Twitter, YouTube.
Well, I just subscribed to your YouTube channel, Eric. I'm looking for your Twitter now.
Awesome, man.
I just put his Twitter in the private chat.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, like, seriously, I talk about comic books a lot, and I love keeping that positive and experiencing this positive energy that comes within us and that we can manifest and make part of our daily lives. It doesn't have to be beset in outrage. And we experience this tonight because there's so much negativity with Star Trek that we just ignored and just talked about the good shit. Wasn't that fun? Mm-hmm. I thought, thank you so much, guys. Thank you, everyone. That was fucking great.
It's absolutely excellent when you can get a group of fans together talking about what we love.
Yeah.
But yeah, a group of us, which I usually greet DJ with nerds. We're all nerds, all of us.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
No. Well, DJ's actually a nerdle because he's got his turtles, so he's nerdle. But we're nerds.
Yeah.
He's
And can I
special.
just say real quick, DJ, how nice you would look in a black T-shirt?
Yeah, I was thinking about I was gonna wear a Star Trek shirt, but I think I put on a little weight, so this is a cool one.
You put on weight?
But here's the good news. I got good news. I ordered a Gundam T-shirt and I ordered a Floral from Under a Rock T-shirt. So I got like a Punk Water shirt coming like soon. So I'm gonna have and I picked different colors other than white. I think I've got like one shirt from the Puppet people that's the white, but the white T-shirts. What if I get a white T-shirt with a printed pattern on it? Is that still a white T-shirt, Paul?
I don't know. That's up to Phil. That's his standard.
He's the shirt police.
I'm just trying to get Phil off your case.
The warp twisted
I'm trying to get this lined up. Yeah, so this is like a medium right here, and like I'm now presently more of a large. But I like this shirt. It's pretty cool.
And you said you're getting fat, DJ. Whatever.
Well, like I put on the weight around the time I got this shirt.
Come on,
Well,
dude.
like not a lot, but enough to push me over the edge where I can't get. If I put on a medium, I look fat, but if I put on a large, I look like I lost weight. So I wear large now. But like I used to be able to wear a medium. I used to be able to get away with that.
Yeah, because you know you're getting so fat. You better
Well,
ask your.
I didn't say I was getting fat. I said I put on weight. I said I'm putting on muscle mass. I mean, it's a little bit of both, but muscle mass is denser than fat. But unfortunately, I do think it's a combination of both. But this is not a nutritionist appointment. Go on, Mike. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I was just gonna say, go ahead and promote yourself.
Oh, okay. Well, while I'm at it, yeah. So my name is. Yeah, basically, so I'm DJ Ronnie G, and I'm not an actual DJ, but I do jockey hard disk drives. And today, last night, I had a data recovery incident where I nearly lost 15 terabytes of data, and within 20 minutes before the start of the show, a miracle happened. And so if you want to see how that tribulation occurred and how I resolved it, then you're going to want to subscribe to my channel because, you know, I'm going to go over that whole trial and tribulation. No triples, though. And other than that, sometimes I do casual gaming, sometimes I do tech stuff. And, you know, if you have like certain things like, for example, streaming stuff, you got a question like relating to streaming or operating OBS, you leave a comment saying, hey, I'm trying to do this. I might actually do a video on the topic because I love finding excuses to do like, you know, instructional videos. And with that being said, that's all I want to say about my channel.
All right.
Yeah, and but he also likes stars in the sky. And I like that about his channel too.
Yep. On some weekends, I'll do astrophotography streams if the weather permits. The weather is not permitting us to do that tonight. But, you know, yeah, whenever I can do that. And I just ran a new wire to my outdoor surveillance camera. So the format is going to be, I'll be able to like live stream the, you know, digital camera from the telescope. I can get like a live view from the telescope. And then I can even have an external view showing the telescope mount, which is cool because you can actually see like what part of the sky the thing is physically aiming at. And once in a while, a spider will climb in front of the camera.
Of course, if all of you out there write a paper off of what DJ was talking about, you instantly get a BS in college. You get that diploma, Bachelor of Science, and you know you'll have that. And you can, you know, if you keep on listening, you'll get your doctorate.
But yes. I do want to briefly mention that Sully sometimes has interesting astronomical content. It's not his main focus, but he does a little brief segment sometimes called Naked Eye Astronomy. And it's basically like when you can see Jupiter, it looks like a bright star. If you see Venus, and he'll like sometimes see like 4 objects in the same night, which is really cool. So I do want to, you know, throw the ball back and mention that.
Yeah. Okay. You can point. You can see planets. Like, hey, that's Mars. And this is a free app on your phone. Download it, and you can see stars.
You know,
I mean, planets.
There was a night when I saw 4 objects, and then they closed their shades.
All right.
Not the same thing. Not the same thing. Okay.
No, not really there.
When I first got my telescope, I pointed it out the window, and I could see into the nursing home way like 4 miles out. I mean, I couldn't really see anything just
No, no,
no.
Padawannabe. Go ahead and promote yourself, brother.
About guilt.
Is there a Padawannabe here? Padawannabe? Hello?
He's gone.
No?
Hello. Going once, going twice.
Oh, Grogu don't talk. We know that. He's trying to jump up to the microphone right now. He's like,
You know what? He pulled the cash money. He fell asleep.
I did not fall asleep.
Did you do that?
Those are
happen?
lies. No.
I mean, it's okay.
Well,
Aaron
I
just
am,
likes to
I
make
am
up
posting
stuff.
the
Yeah, put it in
Padawannabe's
the airlock.
link into the chats on YouTube.
I don't
and
know what
Rumble.
happened to Padawannabe. He was hugging his Grogu doll or something, and then he just passed out. I don't know.
But I know he's been playing Gears of War with Apion recently, and of course,
That's true.
he has his own Star Wars collection and other collectibles.
Yo,
Plus, if
huge.
you missed it, he's also been on Pop's channel taking the Bubblegum challenge. So
on Star Wars Day, Padawannabe shows an enormous collection of Star Wars crap. So you go back to May 5th or whatever. Wait, what's the real Star Wars Day? 23rd?
May 4th.
May 25th is the actual Star Wars.
I think on one of the Star Wars days, if not both of them, if you go to Pop's channel, he's getting interviewed and showing off his like Star Wars toy collection to the viewers on Pop's channel.
Okay.
And Phil McCracken shows the video of him burning his toys on his channel those days.
I still am kind of salty about that Phil did that.
Kinda.
I hope you heard that, Phil.
Paul Celty,
Oh,
this is a new revelation. What is
wow.
going on? Woo. That's crazy.
Never.
Man.
Remember, Cash, I'm a former sailor. I'm salty by
Our
nature.
Paul's growing up.
Swear to me.
Our Paul's growing up.
Where's the trigger? Where is it?
Well, Cash, why don't you go ahead and promote yourself?
I have a channel called The Phantom Hooligans, and last
Hooligans.
week... Hooligans.
Hooligans. Yes.
Phantom, more like overt.
The Hooligans. The Phantom... Yes, it's just Phantom Hooligans, because the Phantom Hooligans was taken, but yes.
More like the overt hooligan.
That's right. So we have a lot of shenanigans, as the channel description says, a lot of shenanigans. But yeah, so I've been playing a lot of games there. I'm still working on my Pinheads of Entertainment series that will be starting to be released soon. But there was no Vermintide 2 this week, unfortunately, but that'll be back next week. So that'll be a lot of fun. And I have a few games planned. I've got Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and then I think I'm going to go back to Bolt Gun and play some more of that. Yes, I know, Baron. I know.
The Emperor protects.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Centauri, but
we are Centauri.
The Big E.
Yes. So yeah, there's some excitement coming up again on the Phantom Hooligans, and we'll see how it goes. But right now, it's just been mostly gaming streams, but those videos will be released soon. So.
All right. And Crit, what do you have coming up, brother?
Well, we are still celebrating the release of our big movie this month. Let me see if I get the poster here. The Rise of Skywalker Revitalized. Woohoo! Now at 31K views.
Ooh.
So please, if you have not seen it, feel free to pop in and watch it. It's 3 hours long, and it features voice talent such as Mike, Pacific 4104, Cash Money 007, with a cameo by Phil McCracken and such
true.
other stuff.
I hate you all.
And other stuff I'm working on. I'm doing some streams. Of course, me and Cash and Mike, hopefully we're going to go in depth about the live action One Piece. We're also going to talk about, I've been talking about this a couple weeks now, but we're going to hopefully do a review of Magnum Force if we can get that rolling. So everyone is everyone is welcome to join that stream if they want to talk when we do our movie reviews. So That's pretty much it. And me and Cash are slowly working on what ifs. So we got some Star Wars what ifs. So
we did one of Finn that turned out pretty well. We wanted to make sure that Finn, was more than what Disney did with him. So it's just they waste opportunities in the sequel trilogy and a lot of characters. So.
All right. And Baron, what do you have coming up on Baron Armentag's Fandom Legacy?
Yeah, Baron.
Hey, everybody. Of course, you can catch me on Pop Talks Wednesdays and Sundays. Mike will tell you the time later on here after me. You can also catch me on the Primetime Kings of Live Stream with 24/7 Fusion Media, the Tower Power himself, of the ever-mysterious Vigilante Williamson. New Bomb Turks taking a break from the Hollywood Nights, cruising in with his hot rod, and, of course, myself. And that's 5 o'clock Central Standard Time on Sundays on 24/7 Fusion Media. Tomorrow, I'm going to have several of the people that we have on this panel here, Mr. Cash Monet, Lord Crit, and, of course, Mike, following up also with good old Phil McCracken. We're going to be talking about Babylon 5 on Fandom Legacy tomorrow, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. It is the second half of Season 2. And things are ramping up for Babylon 5, and hopefully we'll have a good stream tomorrow.
I think we will, Ed.
I think so, too.
Other than that, I'm free for birthdays, bar mitzvahs, funerals, all the good stuff in life if you need me for, as I show myself.
Funerals.
Funerals, yeah.
You're going to do expressions and stuff at the funerals after.
Most of my shtick dies anyway, so what's the appropriate place,
Sure.
Bum.
Now, as far as Pacific Foreign 4 is concerned, coming up on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern will be Pacific Foreign 4 Pop Talk Sunday edition, and in the second hour, open panels will return. Now, this is how open panels are going to work. Please make sure that you have earbuds or headphones on during that second hour of Pop Talk, if you choose to join the panel. Number 2, make sure any background noise is muted so we don't have to hear it. That means TVs blaring in the background, music blaring in the background, video game systems blaring in the background, other YouTube videos, or eating. Make sure you mute yourself. And number 3, wait until you're getting ready to leave or near the end of the show, like right now, for example, to promote yourself when I call upon you. I would greatly appreciate it if everybody did that, because we've had some issues in the past where some people haven't done that. And also, another point is, if someone on the panel has a different point of view than you do, or someone in the chat has a different point of view than you do, don't get in a tizzy about it. That's their point of view. Let them explain their point of view, and even after they explain it, if you still don't agree with them, that's fine. Walk away. You're not losing anything. Now, I will say, if any of those guidelines are gone against, then strike 1, you'll get a verbal warning. It won't be from Cash. It won't be from Barrett. It will be from me. Strike 2, if you go against any of those guidelines, then you will be muted for 5 minutes. And then strike 3, you'll be kicked from the panel. I wish I didn't have to do this, but because of problems we've had on open panels in the past, this has to be done.
Unfortunately, yes.
Oh, sadly.
So,
because you guys can't have nice things. I'm messing with you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know you are. I know you are.
Yeah.
But Pop Talk on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday, I'm debating whether to play more of The Messenger or play more Ace Combat 7 or play a certain game that came out Wednesday, and I know Baron's been having a lot of fun playing it.
Not
I
today.
played it last night. Oh, come on! Listen to this guy. Not today. Not to.
No, I keep on getting killed in this one spot over and over again. It's like, I'm like you.
Okay, Baron.
Well,
Baron,
dude, come on.
You were watching me last night. Obviously, you were watching me last night because that's what happened when I was playing. I kept getting killed. But yes, I'll be playing. Go ahead, Baron. Go ahead.
I'm just saying that's what we expect from you. You have the greatest deaths in video games on YouTube ever. You should be proud of that, by the way.
You're saying Mike has the best deaths in all of video games on YouTube?
Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, you're second place.
All right, fine. I'll take second.
You got some work to do. Yeah, you got some work to do. You got some work to do on that one. I mean,
but Tuesday will be either Starfield, it'll be either The Messenger or Ace Combat 7. I haven't quite decided yet, but that's what will be happening. It'll be a game stream on Tuesday. Wednesday will be the Wednesday edition of Pop Talk, where we're going to have this fella join us in the madness.
Yes, which we're going to need to talk about that after the stream's done, Mike. But yes, I'm looking forward to it. It's been a while since I've had the spotlight on here, and I think we're gonna have some fun.
And then Thursday, I think Cash and I are gonna play a little bit more River City Girls 2.
Sweet.
And then something comes up, I'll let you know. But that's what's gonna be going on for this next week. And again, Eric, thank you for joining us this evening. I greatly appreciate it.
Oh, cheers.
Yeah, man. Eric, it was nice talking to you, man.
Nice to meet you, man.
This is a great time to spend talking Star Trek, man. Happy birthday.
Absolutely. Yes, happy birthday to Star Trek. Happy 57. Yes. We're only 3 years away from 60.
Ooh.
Imagine that.
Oh, no.
Imagine if Shatner gets there.
Oh, I hope he does.
I hope he does. I don't know. He might. He's might.
I love him too.
He's doing pretty good for a 91.
He's doing pretty well.
Man.
Yeah, we'll see.
Doing really well.
Hopefully, man. Hopefully, Eric. I hope so.
Of course, that's why I rose that flag, because of Animas. So that was for Animas.
Yeah, well, we know the only person who loves that flag is a certain Phil McCracken. Crack-a-lack-a-lackin'.
But I want to thank everybody for
good night, everybody
being here
thank
tonight.
You so very much.
Good to see you, bro.
Rocco, Anonymous. We had Rose Kirby. Thank you very much. Brian, the Nerporeal Life Form. Of course, Paul.
Nerdy.
Phil McCracken. Joseph Dredd.
Every time, man. He is obsessed with these things.
He really is. I'm surprised he
Your
didn't say
Muslim
anything about my
uncle.
pillows.
Oh, you just wait.
Oh, yeah, I know he will.
DJ Ronnie G.
That's you.
Laserhawk Darren. And, of course, Sully himself.
Huzzah.
And Alan Copeland.
The force is with him.
But thank you all so very much. Have yourselves a great night. And remember, I'm not just a baseball guy. I'm an all-around guy. Take care, all.
Good talk.